Chapter 48:12. The town where Lin Yi was located was on the edge of soaring Cloud City. It was a new area that had only been developed in recent years. Its scale was naturally incomparable to that of the main city. However, although it was small, it had everything. Not only did this place have everything, but it was also a well-known gray area. The supervision was far less strict than that of the main city. All kinds of people gathered in this place. The reason why Lin Yi suddenly changed his mind and came here was very simple. He found that someone was following him, and this person did not follow him for a short distance. He had been following him all the way from Soaring Cloud Academy. With the speed of Lin Yi's super butterfly micro steps, the person who could follow him so easily must at least be a master of the mysterious ascending stage. In particular, Lin Yi's divine sense could only detect it, but could not lock on the other party. He had to be careful. At least, he could be sure that the guy following him was definitely not a good person. Lin Yi's guess was right. The person following him was indeed not an ordinary person. It was the powerful figure of Shishan that Ren Zhongyuan and Yi Xiaotian had deliberately invited. After he found Lin Yi at the gate of the academy, he immediately followed him, but he did not choose to make a move. It was not that he did not want to, but he did not dare to. Unless he could ensure that there was no one around, he would not dare to make a move. After all, this was still within the sphere of influence of the academy. Evil cultivators like him were like street rats. Once they showed up, they would inevitably be attacked by others. Although he was a master of the mysterious ascending stage, it was a pity that he was really nothing in the East Continent. Any big shot of the academy could easily kill him. The powerful figure of Shishan originally planned to make a move after he left the sphere of influence of the academy. No one in the cultivation world would meddle in other people's business. It was the same in the East Continent. As long as he did not act wildly in the sphere of influence, even if they knew that he was an evil cultivator, the masters of the academy would only turn a blind eye to him. Sometimes, they would even cooperate with him, just like Ren Zhongyuan and Yi Xiaotian. Who knew that Lin Yi would suddenly change his route and enter a small town? The mighty figure of West Mountain could only disguise himself as an ordinary person and stay in the inn with them. Fortunately, this was not a strictly monitored main city, or else he might not have dared to follow them in. After all, there were all sorts of people in a small town. As long as he did not openly reveal his identity as an evil cultivator, it would not be a big problem. For the next 2 days, Lin Yi did not follow his original plan to rush to the Morning Star Academy, but instead strolled around the town. After strolling around for 2 whole days, he finally locked onto the stalker, who was staying in the same inn as him. It was a profound ascended late-stage expert. Lin Yi could not help but be secretly speechless. This guy was really not simple. He was obviously only separated by a layer of wood, but with his insight, it took him such a long time to find him. His concealment skills were really first class. But what puzzled him was, why would such a profound ascension late-stage expert follow him for no reason? From the looks of it, they didn't come with good intentions. Could it be that Yi Xiaotian invited them to deal with him? But it had been 2 whole days. Why was this guy still holding back and not making a move? Was he afraid that there would be too many people in this place? Just as Lin Yi was muttering to himself, the ghost's laughter suddenly sounded in his mind. Kid, why is it that the stronger you get, the more timid you become? What's there to make a fuss about? It's just a profound ascended stage trash evil cultivator. Just trick him to a place where no one is around and kill him. Why are you so hesitant? This guy is an evil cultivator? No wonder he doesn't dare to make a move in public. Lin Yi was stunned when he heard this, then he smiled bitterly and shook his head. Senior, you say it so easily. Even if he is an evil cultivator, he is still a profound ascended late-stage expert. It's not certain who will kill who. If it was in the past, with Lin Yi's current nascent soul late-stage strength, he really might not put the profound ascended late-stage in his eyes. After all, he was used to it. When he killed many profound ascended stage experts, he naturally didn't feel that it was a big deal. However, the appearance of Lang Rufen completely reversed his perception. After all, the profound ascended stage experts were not cabbages. With his current strength, even if he could kill an ordinary profound ascended stage expert in seconds, if he met a real strong person, the consequences would be unpredictable. One must know that just a profound ascended early stage expert like Lang Rufen could already suppress him. Once he really met a difficult profound ascended late stage expert, even Lin Yi could only be hunted down. Profound ascended late stage also depends on who it is. If it's Lang Rufen in the profound ascended late stage, I will definitely advise you to run away. But now this trash evil cultivator, that is, Lang Rufen, was in the state where you spent 5 days in a row. Don't tell me you can't even kill him like that? The ghost curled its lips. If that's the case, then that's great. I was just worried that there was no one to feed me. This guy came at the right time. Lin Yi was immediately happy when he heard this. Ever since he fought with Lang Rufen for half a month, he had already tasted the sweetness of fighting. When he had nothing to do, he wanted to find Lang Rufen to spar. This time, before he set off, he specially sparred several times. Unfortunately, Lang Rufen's state had recovered, but he obviously didn't dare to use his full strength. This guy attached great importance to his status. Facing his boss, Lin Yi, he didn't dare to fight at all. What if he couldn't control himself and seriously injured Lin Yi, or even directly killed him? Lin Yi tried a lot of ways to persuade him, but Lang Rufen just couldn't let go. Several times, he could only stop at a certain point, causing Lin Yi's interest to wane. But now it's good, a profound ascended late stage expert came to his door. This evil cultivator was not big nor small, just right to be a sparring partner. Lin Yi didn't act rashly after locking onto the Shishan master's position. He waited until midnight before leaving without a sound. If it was someone else, Lin Yi would have been able to avoid detection 99% of the time, but the Shishan master sensed it right away. In order to use Lin Yi's head to pave the road of advancement, the Shishan expert really put in a lot of effort this time. Almost all the time, he was paying attention to Lin Yi's position, waiting for the last opportunity to make a move, and now he finally waited for it. The Shishan expert suddenly revealed a sinister sneer and chased after him. Previously, he had been inexplicably circling around here for 2 days. Even a fool knew that Lin Yi must have noticed that something was wrong, but this kid actually thought that he could slip away under his nose in the dark. He was simply too naive. Locking onto Lin Yi's aura from afar, the Shishan expert was not in a hurry to make a move. Even if it was now night, to be safe, he had to wait until he was out of the school's sphere of influence. Haste makes waste, and he couldn't act rashly and ruin the big plan. Lin Yi was still using the super butterfly micro-step to hurry on his way. This speed was already extremely fast, and with the cover of the night, he was like a ghost. Ordinary people couldn't even see him clearly, let alone follow him from afar. Chapter 48:13. In terms of movement techniques, evil cultivators who pursued the extreme by any means necessary were the real ghosts. Especially when Shishan was an evil cultivator who was good at movement techniques. Not to mention a nascent soul stage master, even a profound ascending stage master of the same level wouldn't be able to get rid of him easily. The two chased after each other for an entire night, and by the time the sun was up, Lin Yi was in the middle of an endless forest. There were no villages in front of him, no shops behind him, and he was far away from the school's territory. Shishan looked at the surrounding environment and sneered silently. He thought that this kid would sneak into the main city. If that was the case, he would really have to go through a lot of trouble. But now, this kid had found a good place to bury himself, which saved him a lot of trouble. There wasn't even a ghost in a 100-mile radius. No matter how big the commotion was, no one would come to get in the way. He really didn't know whether to say that this kid was stupid or to praise him for being tactful. Just as Shishan was about to make a move, Lin Yi suddenly stopped in front of him. This startled Shishan. He couldn't help but be a little suspicious. What did this kid want to do? This place is almost there. Although the feng shui isn't very good, it's more than enough to bury a follower. Come out. Lin Yi said lightly. The mighty figure of the West Mountain was stunned. He had been very careful along the way. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, he had been hanging several kilometers away. He had also carefully concealed his aura. How could this kid have discovered him? Impossible, this brat is definitely bluffing, trying his luck to trick me out. Shishan originally planned to make a move, but now he changed his mind. With the mentality of a cat playing with a mouse, he wanted to see how long Lin Yi could play this one-man show. Hee, still hiding and not wanting to come out. Are you deceiving yourself? Lin Yi grinned and then unreservedly revealed the strength of the late nascent soul stage. He said lightly, hurry up and come out and fight with me. I think our strength is about the same. Don't dawdle, let's fight. You've been hiding for a few days. Are all evil cultivators like you? Hearing this, Shishan knew that he had indeed been discovered. However, he couldn't help but feel astonished. He had concealed his aura so well, so how did this brat find out that he was a heretical cultivator? Suppressing the doubts in his heart, Shishan Almighty immediately appeared without hesitation, releasing a powerful aura, and sneered, "Humph, boy, did you see wrongly? This old man is at the late stage of profound ascension, and you are just at the late stage of yuanying. How can our strength be the same? There's a huge difference. You'll only know how weak you are when you fight. Don't talk so much nonsense. My hands have been itching for a long time." Lin Yi cracked his knuckles as he spoke. He'd thought that the guy would have made his move a long time ago, but he didn't think that the guy would have dragged it out like a tortoise. He had to admit that the tortoise was pretty fast. Itchy hands? Humph, this old man thinks that your skin is itching for death. Reckless dog, you actually dare to provoke our Western Mountain old sect. Today, I, the Western Mountain Almighty, will take your head to congratulate the old sect. The Western Mountain Almighty mocked. West Mountain Old Master? You are also from the West Mountain Evil Sect? Lin Yi couldn't help but be stunned. He only heard that the ghost said that he was a heretical cultivator, but he didn't expect to encounter the West Mountain Evil Sect even in the East Continent. It was really a small world for enemies. He thought that this guy was simply an assassin that Ren Zhongyuan and the others found to deal with him. Humph, you're lucky that you can survive until now after provoking our West Mountain Old Master. But today, your luck has come to an end. Die. The Western Mountain Almighty said as he stretched out his claws in the direction of Lin Yi. Lin Yi suddenly felt an incomparably terrifying suction force in front of him. It was actually trying to suck him over. This was not a simple telekinesis. If he hadn't been on guard in advance to protect his body with true qi, all the meridians and blood vessels in his body would have burst, and his whole body might have directly turned into a cloud of blood mist. A heretical cultivator was indeed a heretical cultivator. Just a casual attack was such an extremely sinister move. With a thought, Lin Yi suddenly gave up resisting, and his whole body was instantly sucked over. Seeing this, the Western Mountain Almighty was overjoyed. You guys who claim to be from the righteous sects just love to brag. What bullshit about fighting an enemy with a higher realm. That's all there is to it. This move of his was called Opening Claw. As the name suggested, once one was hit by his claw, one's stomach would immediately be cut open. Even if one's true qi protected one's body, it would be useless, because the true qi protection would be instantly pierced by the tip of his claw. As for the remaining flesh and blood, there was no need to even mention it. The distance between them quickly closed, and just when it looked like he was about to be hit, not only did Lin Yi not think of a way to slow down, but he suddenly shot true qi from his back to push the boat with the current. His speed suddenly increased by a lot, and his whole body suddenly attacked the Western Mountain Almighty like a cannonball. Seeing this, the Western Mountain Almighty was shocked. By the time he reacted, Lin Yi was already in front of him. Both of his palms were surging with fiery will, and it was completely red, with the profound state of yin and yang 8 trigrams. How dare you! What a reckless junior! Seeing this, the Western Mountain Almighty was furious. A mere nascent soul late stage dared to do this. It was clear that he did not put him in his eyes. His opening claw, which could suck people through the air, was indeed full of flaws in the eyes of many masters. Just like now, it was easy for others to borrow strength to fight back. Unfortunately, these people had forgotten that he was a profound ascension late-stage master. How could an existence at his level be so easily full of flaws? When a flaw was particularly obvious, it was very likely to be a deliberate trap. Those masters who saw this move and felt that they could take advantage of it, when they borrowed strength to fight back and hitched a ride on the powerful suction, the final result was unbearable to look at, without exception. And now, under his opening claw, there was going to be another dead soul. On the surface, the Western Mountain Almighty pretended to be shocked and angry, but in his heart, he was about to burst into laughter. How could such a stupid thing escape from the hands of the old sect? His dog shit luck was against the heavens. In the blink of an eye, the two had already met face to face. The 5 fingertips of the Western Mountain Almighty were emitting a terrible and terrifying black gas. Without dodging, he directly grabbed at Lin Yi's frenzied fire 8 trigrams palm. In the eyes of many people, they thought that the most terrifying part of the opening claw was the powerful suction force of the exploding blood vessels. As long as one could withstand this force, one could easily deal with it. After all, the claw itself did not have any terrifying power to speak of. In fact, it was the opposite. The suction force was just a cover. The real terrifying part of this move was still the opening claw. The more ugly something was, the more deadly it was. Chapter 48:14. Fortunately, Lin Yi's reaction was fast enough. At the critical moment, he directly used the extreme butterfly steps. That was how he was able to barely avoid the dangerous claws of the opponent and avoid being killed in one hit. Hee, my claws are invincible. I can even break divine weapons. You're just a late-stage original level cultivator and you dare to compete with me? You have no self-awareness at all. How stupid. The mighty figure laughed proudly. He can even break divine weapons? Lin Yi raised his eyebrows slightly when he heard this. He thought to himself, don't brag without a draft. If it weren't for the fact that his weapon couldn't be formed at the last step, he would definitely show this guy what he said today. I threw a lot of rare materials into it. If it can still be broken with bare hands, then I really don't need to live anymore. There's no need for divine weapons. Break this move of mine first. Before Lin Yi's voice died away, accompanied by a dragon's roar, the murderous aura of the 5 elements attacked directly towards the mighty figure of West Mountain. Hee, you dog that hasn't seen the world. Do you really think I'm just talking big? Seeing this, the mighty figure of West Mountain didn't hesitate to reach out towards the murderous aura of the 5 elements. The claws were the move that he was famous for. Even today, it was still his main martial arts skill. Breaking divine weapons was not a boast. It was real. In the blink of an eye, the mighty figure of West Mountain had already grabbed the murderous aura of the 5 elements. However, before he could show a proud expression, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his clawed hand. When he took a closer look, he suddenly turned pale with fright. The murderous aura of the 5 elements was not broken by him at all. Instead, it directly wrapped around his arm. At this moment, the black gas on his claw had been crushed by the murderous aura of the 5 elements. The so-called invincible claws of the 5 elements were broken by itself. His 5 fingertips were bleeding profusely. If he didn't find a way to quickly escape, even if he was lucky enough to escape with his life, he would definitely lose his arm. I say, were the divine weapons you encountered before made of paper? Could you even break them like that? Lin Yi looked at him with a calm and unruffled expression. The 5 elemental killing aura was an extremely aggressive and ferocious force. It was complicated and profound, and no force in the world could compare to it, let alone the evil chi of a mere evil cultivator. In front of the 5 elemental killing aura, it was simply trash. Ah! The mighty figure of West Mountain was angry and anxious. He couldn't care less about Lin Yi's mockery. He tried his best to shake off the 5 elemental killing aura that was entangling his arm, but his evil energy was completely restrained by the 5 elemental killing aura. No matter how much it came, it would be destroyed. After struggling for a while, there was still no sign of it weakening. It seemed that the ghost was right. Although this guy was a profound ascension late-stage master, his real strength was not comparable to Lang Rufin, who was at the early profound ascension early stage. At least when the latter faced the 5 elemental killing aura, he was far more powerful. As long as he swung his blade, the 5 elemental killing aura could only be cut. It could only be said that comparing oneself to others was infuriating. Lang Rufin was a freak who could cultivate the blade force. No matter where he was a genius among geniuses. On the other hand, the evil cultivator of West Mountain was far worse. Of course, if this guy's aptitude was as heaven-defying as Lang Rufin, he wouldn't be a evil cultivator. Go to hell. The mighty figure of West Mountain was really anxious now. In order to crush the murderous aura of the 5 elements wrapped around his arm, he did not hesitate to pour out all of his evil aura. His entire body was instantly enveloped by black aura, and even the surrounding area of several dozen feet around him became pitch black, as if an evil demon had descended upon the world. When so much extremely rich evil energy gathered together, the 5 elemental killing aura finally showed some signs of defeat, and was gradually expelled and eroded. Just a 5 elemental killing aura was enough to force a profound ascension late-stage evil cultivator into such an embarrassing situation. As a Yuanying late-stage master, Lin Yi could already be proud. However, there was still a bit of regret on his face. The 5 elemental killing aura was his strongest move now. Sure enough, it was still too difficult to kill the opponent in one move. After all, the difference in strength between them was too big. Of course, even if he couldn't kill the opponent in one move, it was not a big problem to simply kill the opponent. At most, it would take some effort. Take your life while you're sick. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't have the habit of letting the enemy recover. Before the Shishan master could completely destroy the 5 elements, a blue arc shot through the air, and the Shishan master didn't even have a chance to react under this lightspeed attack. He was hit in an instant. The blue arc flashed and disappeared into his forehead, and the West Mountain mighty figure's whole body suddenly froze. This was the time when he concentrated all the evil energy in his body to deal with the 5 elemental killing aura. Although the blue arc itself did not have any damage, this sudden paralysis effect was simply killing him. The West Mountain mighty figure was in a stalemate for a moment, and the originally weakened 5 elemental killing aura immediately made a comeback. The most terrible thing was that Lin Yi took the opportunity to add another one. Anyway, for him, there was an endless supply of Zhenqi. As long as there was time and space, it was easy to throw 8 or 10 of them. A dignified profound ascension late-stage evil cultivator, at this time, could only look at the 2 intertwined 5 elemental killing aura on his arm speechlessly. Especially every time he was about to use all his strength to expel it, there would immediately be another blue arc on top of his head. The paralysis effect was so annoying that the West Mountain mighty figure was about to cry. Damn it, can I still keep this arm of mine? I really didn't realize it before, but I didn't expect you to be so wretched. Seeing the West Mountain mighty figure in a fluster, the ghost thing suddenly laughed. Senior, don't talk nonsense. How am I wretched? Lin Yi was speechless. You're not wretched? Relying on your endless Zhenqi to use all kinds of life-risking ultimate moves, the power of thunder and lightning, and the 5 elemental killing aura, and you still hide far away. If this isn't wretched, then what is? The ghost thing curled its lips. Senior, this is called a sense of crisis. If this guy has any trump cards, wouldn't it be courting death to rush up rashly? Lin Yi corrected it in a bad mood. He wanted to rush up and fight with his fists, but the problem was that the other party was a profound ascension late-stage expert, and not a soft persimmon that could be pinched by others. If he rushed up at this time, he would definitely become the other party's breakthrough point. It was obvious that he could rely on a series of moves to properly kill the opponent, but in the end, he still wanted to rush up and play with fire. In Lin Yi's view, this was not called bravery, but idiocy. Chapter 48:15. Lin Yi couldn't help but be a little speechless at his bad taste. However, just as the two were talking, the West Mountain mighty figure, who was about to be tortured by the murderous aura of the 5 elements and the power of thunder and lightning, suddenly let out an inhuman roar. When Lin Yi reacted, this guy had already disappeared. And there was something left at the place where he was just now. Lin Yi looked carefully and was shocked. It was a bloody arm. Escaped. Lin Yi couldn't help but be a little speechless when he saw this scene. The evil cultivator was really ruthless. In order to get rid of the murderous aura of the 5 elements, he did not hesitate to cut off an arm. Although this was the simplest and most effective method, there were definitely not many people who could have such courage to do this. He didn't know that this West Mountain mighty figure was really a ruthless person. Looking around, Lin Yi could no longer find the figure of the West Mountain mighty figure. Except for the bloody broken arm on the ground, there was not even a trace of blood left in other places. It was as if he had evaporated into thin air. It seems that he really escaped. Lin Yi's face suddenly showed a little pity. This West Mountain mighty figure obviously wanted to kill him. No matter what, he had to get rid of him, otherwise there would be a big hidden danger in the future. But although he seemed to be very relaxed just now, in fact, he had already used all his means. Since the other party used this kind of method to escape, there was really no way he could do anything about it. After looking around and finding no more unusual movements, Lin Yi immediately prepared to continue his journey. At this moment, a strange change suddenly occurred. A powerful black gas rose from all directions, and the blood and evil revealed in it made people breathless. The originally bright sky became turbid in the blink of an eye, and one could not see their fingers in front of them. Lin Yi suddenly felt that something was wrong. Without hesitation, he used the super butterfly microstep to leave the place. Although it was almost a one-sided beating of the opponent just now, he still could not be careless. Underestimating any profound ascension late-stage cultivator's desperate counterattack was no different from suicide. Although he was in the dark, it could not block his divine senses. After locking onto the direction, Lin Yi quickly moved. The speed of the super butterfly subtle steps was unquestionable, and he was able to move 10 miles away in an instant. However, the strange thing was that no matter how hard Lin Yi tried to dodge, he could not escape from the black gas. Lin Yi was shocked. It was impossible for the black gas to envelop the surrounding 100 miles. How terrifying was its power! As soon as this thought appeared, it was rejected by Lin Yi himself. This was because his divine sense told him that this black chi could only cover an area of 5 kilometers at most. The reason why he couldn't get rid of it was purely because when he moved, this black chi was also moving rapidly with him. But why didn't he see the mighty figure of West Mountain? Lin Yi was secretly puzzled. He did not detect the figure of the Shishan Almighty in the black chi. Otherwise, he would have used the 5 elements killing chi and the power of thunder and lightning to deal with this guy. Could it be that the guy just released this black chi to trap people, and he took advantage of the situation to escape? This was not impossible, but since this black chi could move, there must be someone controlling it. It was impossible that the Shishan Almighty just made a mark on him and let the black chi follow him from then on, right? Then I can't see the light? This is too fucked up. When Lin Yi thought of this, he could not help but feel speechless. Although he could use his divine sense to explore the surroundings, and this black chi could not really hinder his movements, anyone would be annoyed after staying in this dark environment for a long time. How could he see people like this? In particular, this black chi was full of blood and evil. It did not affect him for a while, but who knew if there would be any terrible side effects after a long time? Don't worry, you don't need to see the light in the future, because you will soon go to see the King of Hell, Jia 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 Jia. A bone-chilling voice suddenly sounded from all directions. It was the mighty figure of West Mountain who had disappeared without a trace. Lin Yi was suddenly shocked. It turned out that this guy did not escape, but had been hiding around him. But why did his divine sense not find him? Could it be that this black chi could not block the divine sense, but it could have a confusing effect, making his divine sense blind to the Shishan Almighty who was close at hand? The King of Hell? I am not very familiar with him, so please help me say hello first. Lin Yi was vigilant of everything around him, and he sneered, I saw that in order to save your life, you even gave up your arm, and I thought you were a smart person who knew when to advance and when to retreat. I didn't expect you to dare to stay behind and play tricks. Are you evil cultivators so stupid? Humph, you reckless dog, do you really think I will run away? The Shishan Almighty's voice was suddenly angry, and it seemed that he was provoked by Lin Yi's words. He gritted his teeth and said, I admit that I have indeed underestimated you. A mere late nascent soul stage can force me to this point, forcing me to cut off my arm. This is just right, I will let you have a good look today, and let you see our Shishan faction's signature skill. Shishan evil faction's signature skill? Is it to cut off your own arm? That's very powerful, but I am very curious about how many arms you have. If you cultivate a few more times, won't you be dismembered by 5 horses? Lin Yi was secretly on guard, but his words were mercilessly provoking the Almighty's nerves. As long as he made the Almighty impulsive and angry, he would have a chance to find a flaw and kill him. Jia, it seems that you really have not seen the world. You don't even know our most powerful blood sacrifice, then just wait for your death. As the Shishan Almighty's voice fell, the smell of blood in the surrounding black gas became more and more intense, and even faintly showed signs of turning red, giving people the feeling that they were trapped in blood. Not only was it extremely disgusting, but it was also difficult to move. The warning of the jade pendant suddenly sounded, and Lin Yi did not have time to guess what was going on. He did not hesitate to escape, but this time his speed was greatly affected, and he could only reach half of his previous speed, and the black gas that had turned into blood was like maggots in his bones, and he could not get rid of it for a while. You still want to escape at this time? I will pay the price of an arm for the blood sacrifice. Do you think you can still escape? No matter how stupid and ignorant you are, there should be a limit. Jia. The Shishan Almighty sneered. Lin Yi was very anxious. The blood sacrifice that the other party mentioned was an extremely evil and powerful move. Maybe it was the trump card of these evil cultivators. Even a rabbit would bite when it was cornered, not to mention that the other party was an evil cultivator in the late profound ascension stage. This was really not easy to deal with. Chapter 48:16. But the problem was that he couldn't find the other party's real body. If he continued to be entangled, it would be his turn to be beaten up unilaterally. He didn't even know how to fight back. Just as Lin Yi was thinking about how to deal with it, an amazing suction suddenly came from behind him. At first, it felt similar to the previous Ripper Claw, but then he realized that something was wrong. This time, not only was the force 10 times stronger than before, but because of the bloody black gas around him, he felt as if he had sunk into a quagmire. Even the slightest movement was extremely strenuous, not to mention resisting the sudden suction force behind him. In the darkness, a ferocious bloody finger with a dim light was pressed against Lin Yi's back. It was about to pierce his heart from behind in the next moment, but Lin Yi was unaware of it. Fortunately, there was a warning from the jade pendant. At the critical moment, Lin Yi did not hesitate to use extreme butterfly microsteps. At the same time, he spared no effort to madly eject genuine chi behind him. His whole body finally broke free from the double shackles of the blood and the suction, and rushed forward like a cannonball. However, before Lin Yi could breathe a sigh of relief, the warning from the jade pendant suddenly sounded again. This time, the suction from behind suddenly changed direction and directly sucked forward. Because of the speed that he had just burst out with all his strength, Lin Yi couldn't even stop this time. His body rushed forward uncontrollably. Finally, Lin Yi found the ferocious bloody finger waiting in front of him. His scalp suddenly went numb because he couldn't control himself at all. If this went on, he would be pierced by the bloody finger. At first glance, this bloody finger was 100 times more dangerous than the Ripper Claw just now. Fuck it. At the critical moment, Lin Yi's blood was finally aroused. He couldn't care so much anymore. Since he couldn't stop, he would rush forward and see who was fiercer than who. At this moment, Lin Yi sent 2 5-elements murderous aura forward, and at the same time, he added the power of thunder and lightning. If he did this, he would definitely be hurt by the bloody finger, but the mighty figure of Shishan would definitely not be much better. It was completely a posture of fighting with his life. You want to exchange a life for a life with this old man? You're looking down on me too much. The mighty figure of West Mountain sneered. Before he finished speaking, the bloody finger in front of him silently disappeared into the blood. Lin Yi was horrified. Although the path ahead of him had become smooth, everything he had done just now had been for naught. This result was much more depressing than having both sides suffer losses, because he was simply being toyed with by the opponent. Only Lin Yi could continuously replenish his true qi at any time. If it was someone else, just this one move would cause a great loss in strength. This Shishan Almighty was really sinister and cunning. He could easily consume the opponent's true qi with just a few dangerous moves. It was practically effortless. This blood sacrifice is really strange. Lin Yi complained in his heart. Because of the lingering black gas and blood around him, this place had completely become the opponent's home ground. He couldn't even touch a shadow. The opponent could fight whenever he wanted to and leave whenever he wanted to. If he relaxed even a little, the consequences would be unimaginable. If this continued, even an immortal would be dragged down. It seems that this is not a trash evil cultivator. He's quite capable. He even knows such an arrogant trick like blood sacrifice. Although the level of blood sacrifice is relatively low, it is invincible in the profound ascending stage. You're really unlucky. Hurry up and find a way to escape. You can't beat him. The ghostly thing said calmly. Damn, Senior, you've tricked me to death. Lin Yi suddenly complained. Before, it was the ghostly thing who instigated him to lure out the mighty figure of West Mountain and kill him. The result was great. Instead, it was the other party who kept chasing him and he couldn't do anything about it. This time, he was really tricked by the ghostly thing. How would I know that a mere evil cultivator of the profound ascending stage would also know blood sacrifice? This is your own bad luck. You can't blame it on me. The ghostly thing smiled embarrassedly. In fact, this matter really couldn't be blamed on him. Even with his vision and knowledge, blood sacrifice was a powerful move. The existence of the blood sacrifice domain made these evil cultivators invincible. In addition, their attack power would also increase along with the first mates, so when facing experts of the same level, it was as easy as cutting melons and vegetables. They could even easily kill enemies of a higher level. The only bad thing was that the price of using this technique was very high. Just like this time, the almighty expert of the West Mountain directly used up one of his arms. Okay, it's my own bad luck, okay? Lin Yi was speechless for a while and smiled bitterly. This time, he had completely given up the idea of continuing to deal with the mighty figure of West Mountain. After all, even the ghostly thing said that it couldn't beat the other party. Then there was definitely no way to fight. The restriction effect of the blood sacrifice domain was obvious, especially for those masters of speed. Once trapped in it, they would be restrained to death. Fortunately, the difference between Lin Yi and the ordinary masters of speed was that his speed was faster, and his true qi was unlimited. With the terrifying speed of the extreme butterfly microstep, even after it was reduced by 50%, it was still very impressive. In addition, from time to time, Lin Yi would release a burst of true qi regardless of the cost. Not only did the whole person maintain the extremely fast inertia, but the more important thing was that the trajectory of the movement was erratic. One moment it was left, the next moment it was right. Every change was very abrupt and without warning. It made the mighty figure of West Mountain, who had the absolute initiative, unable to find a suitable opportunity to kill him. This dog runs fast. The mighty figure of West Mountain suddenly couldn't calm down. He paid the price of an arm to use the blood sacrifice. If he still couldn't kill Lin Yi, then it would be a big loss. In fact, in this blood sacrifice domain, if he was willing to fight with Lin Yi until both of them were injured, there would be opportunities like just now. But he was not willing. He had already paid an arm. If he fought with someone else until both of them were injured, it was estimated that he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Then even if he killed Lin Yi, what was the point? He killed Lin Yi just to pave the way with Lin Yi's head, so that he could get on the line of the West Mountain Old Master and then soar to the sky. But if he was crippled because of this, his strength would greatly decline. Then, not to mention soar to the sky, just the evil cultivators of the same sect here would be able to skin him alive. The mighty figure of West Mountain who used the blood sacrifice to escape was powerful, but in terms of the ability to escape, even the West Mountain Old Master who was at the opening stage couldn't do anything to Lin Yi, let alone him who was at the late stage of profound ascension. Chapter 48:17. I really underestimated you. A mere late nascent soul stage cultivator can actually escape so easily. No wonder you can escape from the old master. Shishan was pissed off. He almost got him a couple of times, but Lin Yi was always able to dodge at the last moment. It was a stroke of genius, and he'd failed several times. Then why are you still chasing? Are you sure you can do something that even the old master couldn't do? I want to see how long you can last with your little chi. Lin Yi sneered. You want to compete with me? You're just a nascent soul stage cultivator, where do you get your confidence from? The almighty being suddenly laughed. Although he also felt that Lin Yi's chi was not normal, he did not believe that he, a late profound ascension stage cultivator, would lose to a late nascent soul stage cultivator. He chased and sneered, You dog, I've heard about your story. You were able to escape from the old master because you escaped into the South Island, but there are no spirit beasts here. Really? Who told you that I'm looking for the spirit beasts? Do you dare to run around in the East Continent as a heretic? Lin Yi said as he used chi again, narrowly dodging the other party's surprise attack. He'd lost count of how many times he'd chased after him. This Shishan master wasn't as oppressive as the Shishan elder, but he had to admit that this guy wouldn't stop chasing after him, and it was very troublesome. If it weren't for the jade, he'd have died a dozen times already. But fortunately, the other party was a heretic. From the previous actions, it could be seen that this guy did not dare to make a move within the school's sphere of influence, so as long as he escaped to any of the main schools, he would definitely be able to escape. It was a pity that Lin Yi only looked at the route to the Morning Star Academy, and did not pay attention to any other schools along the way. At this time, he could not look at the route, so he could only escape in the direction of the Morning Star Academy according to his memory, otherwise he would have already escaped. You dog. Don't even think about escaping. After hearing Lin Yi's words, the Almighty was so angry that he yelled, and the hideous bloody finger appeared again and again. After all, as Lin Yi said, if this kid escaped to the main school, he would really be at his wit's end. As a result, Lin Yi was surrounded by danger. It was only because of the Jade's warning and his quick thinking of using the raging fire thousand bursting fists to create chaos that he was able to barely escape from death a few times. Finally, after crossing the endless mountains and forests, they encountered more and more cultivators. However, no one dared to make a move when they saw a large mass of bloody black gas coming at them from afar. They all ran far away and watched with folded arms. After all, no one wanted to be a busybody and get into trouble. Fortunately, Qinxing City was not far ahead. Lin Yi was happy to see this. As long as he escaped, the Almighty Being would not dare to chase him. You think you can escape like this? Go and die. Seeing this, the Almighty Being could not care about anything else. This time, in order to block Lin Yi's path, he did not hesitate to reveal his true form. There was no other way. If he did not stop this kid now, he would not have another chance. Lin Yi could not help but be shocked. If they were in the wilderness, he might really fight to the death with the Almighty Being because this was the only chance he had to lock onto the Almighty Being. However, it was different now. The chance of winning was probably less than 30%, and now that he was one step away from entering Qinxing City, even a fool would know what to choose. Boom! There was a sudden loud sound in the bloody black gas, and even the ground around Qinxing City shook. Then, a figure rushed out of the bloody black gas, looking slightly pathetic, and rushed into Qinxing City without stopping. Fortunately, I prepared a vital energy bomb in advance. Otherwise, it would be hard to tell if I'm dead or alive. Lin Yi looked back with lingering fear. At this moment, because he had attracted a lot of people to watch, the bloody black gas had disappeared into thin air. Even the Almighty Being was nowhere to be seen. It seemed that he had escaped when he saw that the situation was not good. At the same time, a one-armed man appeared in the crowd outside the city. It was the Almighty Being. This bastard. How can he be so cunning? The Almighty Being watched from afar as Lin Yi entered Qinxing City. He was so angry that he gritted his teeth. In theory, the blood sacrifice domain could turn the enemy's vital energy attack into his own. That was why he could last for so long. In fact, the more Lin Yi attacked, the longer he could maintain the blood sacrifice domain. However, it was different this time. The power of the vital energy bomb directly exceeded the upper limit of the blood sacrifice domain. Not only did it shatter the blood sacrifice domain, it even caused the Almighty Being to suffer a heavy backlash. No, I can't let him escape so easily. I'm going to risk it all. The Almighty Being gritted his teeth and walked towards Qinxing City. Under normal circumstances, he would not dare to enter a school's main city. However, it was not completely impossible. As long as everyone was not carefully checked during martial law, it would not be a problem for him to sneak in as long as he kept a low profile. Of course, as sneaking around, the Almighty Being would not dare to make a move in the city. Not to mention openly killing someone. If he revealed even the slightest bit of an evil cultivator's aura, he would definitely die a horrible death. The orthodox cultivators might not dare to meddle in other people's business outside, but it was different in Qinxing City. After all, there were many people. The Almighty Being followed from afar. Seeing that Lin Yi had checked into a large inn, he quickly turned around and found a corner to squat down. He watched the direction of the inn while sighing gloomily. Now that he had lost an arm and suffered the backlash of the blood sacrifice domain, he wanted to find a place to recuperate. Unfortunately, with his identity as an evil cultivator, he did not dare to follow Lin Yi into such a large inn in the main city. The checks in such a place were much stricter than outside. As an evil cultivator, he could not hide at all. Lin Yi was different. He was a legitimate disciple of the 3 pavilions of the North Island. Moreover, he had an identity token, so there was no problem at all for him to check in. Of course, the price of such a place was definitely not cheap. However, was Lin Yi someone who lacked spiritual jades? That trash evil cultivator is still following him. I didn't know that this guy was not only strong, but also quite persistent, the ghostly thing reminded him jokingly. I know. From the looks of it, he doesn't dare to make a move in the city. Whatever, I'll deal with him when I have the chance. Lin Yi lay comfortably on the bed with his arms and legs spread out. The escape had really tired him out. Even if his true chi was endless, the mental pressure alone was not easy to bear. Chapter 48:18. After resting for a whole day in the inn, Lin Yi finally recovered his energy. He was eager to see Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao, but he didn't head to the Morning Star Academy just like that. After wandering around for so long, Lin Yi had a lot of experience, and he knew that he had to ask some questions first. Only by finding out the rules and the way would he be able to get twice the result with half the effort. Otherwise, with the East Continent Academy's attitude, he'd get into trouble if he rashly barged in, especially if he accidentally pissed off someone powerful. He wouldn't even know how he died. Coming out of the inn, Lin Yi glanced at the West Mountain powerhouse in the faraway street corner with a faint smile. He was a profound Ascension late-stage evil practitioner, but now he'd almost become a beggar on the street, and there were even people giving him alms. Just thinking about it was pitiful. After asking around for a bit, Lin Yi headed straight for the largest market in Morningstar City. There were many people here, and it was the best place to ask about all sorts of news. Following the flow of people, they wandered in the marketplace. In terms of scale, this marketplace was not much worse than the North Islands. But considering that this was just a small city in Dongzhou State, and the marketplace in the North Island represented the highest standard in the North Island, the gap between them was self-evident. After a while, Lin Yi followed the crowd to a notice board. There were all kinds of announcements, and a large group of people gathered there to watch, whispering to each other. Lin Yi glanced at it. There were all kinds of announcements, such as wanted posters, new rules of the main city, current news, and so on. The one that attracted the most attention was an announcement about an auction. Morningstar auction ceremony? Lin Yi looked at the contents of the announcement while listening to the discussions around him. He couldn't help but feel a little moved. Since he was here, he might as well go and join in the fun. From the looks of it, this auction was the highest standard auction in Morningstar City. He had never seen an auction in the Eastern continent for 2 months, so he was sure that there would be all kinds of super high-grade rare treasures. After all, this was the Eastern continent, and the standard couldn't be lower than the auctions on the other Heaven Rank Islands. Although he had this thought, it shouldn't be that easy to participate in the Morningstar auction. Although the time and location were stated on the notice, there was no other concrete information. It also didn't say what qualifications one had to have to enter. It couldn't be that just anyone could sneak in. It seemed that he had to find someone to investigate the specific situation. After a few glances, Lin Yi retreated and continued to stroll around the market. From what he knew, markets in many places didn't just trade goods. In fact, there were also local tyrants who specialized in trading information. As long as one could afford the price, it was easy to find all kinds of secret information from these people. However, many of these local tyrants had underground businesses that couldn't see the light of day. If one didn't pay attention to the special signs on the streets, it would be very difficult to find them just by strolling around. Fortunately, Lin Yi was experienced and knowledgeable. As long as he paid attention, it shouldn't be difficult to find them. After going with the flow for a while, Lin Yi suddenly stopped in his tracks. It wasn't because he found some street signs, but because the signboard of the Merchant Association in front of him made him feel very familiar. Morningstar City's Hong Merchant Association. Although he didn't plan to buy anything, and he didn't know anyone in this place, he was only an honorary vice president. Within the Hong Merchant Association, only Hong Zhong and Honest Chai were familiar with him. He hadn't even seen the others. However, Lin Yi still walked in subconsciously. "What do you need, sir?" A waiter immediately came up to greet him warmly. His etiquette was very on point. It could be seen that he was well trained. Just in terms of the quality of his employees, he was better than the other branches on Heaven Island. "Oh, nothing, I'm just looking around." Lin Yi waved his hand. He didn't plan to reveal his identity for the time being. Although his status as the honorary vice president was considered high and mighty, not every branch would be willing to give in to him. If he rashly went to the branch manager here to inquire about information, it might instead cause unexpected problems. Who knew if it would be another Wei Xiaodong? "That's good. Sir, if you need anything, feel free to call me." The waiter smiled and left tactfully. Looking along the rows of goods, Lin Yi's eyes couldn't help but light up. He actually saw some 6th and even 7th grade elixirs, and there were quite a few of them. This greatly surprised Lin Yi. These were rare goods that were rarely seen on the market. Although there were no heaven-defying 7th grade elixirs like the Thunder Xian pill or the Beauty pill among them, they were still 6th and 7th grade elixirs. Lin Yi had never seen such high-grade elixirs in the Northern Island branch. Even if there were, they would not be publicly displayed on the first floor, and there would not be so many of them. If these elixirs were to be auctioned in the Middle Island, North Island, or even the extreme North Island, it would definitely be an unimaginable astronomical figure. The prices here weren't low either, but they couldn't be compared to the prices on the other sky-class islands. Lin Yi realized a huge loophole. If someone were to specifically buy the 6th and 7th level pills here and bring them to the other sky-class islands to be auctioned, wouldn't they be able to make a huge profit off the price difference? However, after seeing the line of text at the bottom of these elixirs display cabinets, Lin Yi suddenly understood that such an obvious loophole could not exist, because it was clearly written, the above elixirs are only sold in the Yellow Sea area of the East Continent. These elixirs are actually sold in different regions? Although he could figure out the reason, Lin Yi still felt a little surprised, because this method was exactly the same as those in the secular world. After all, some things in the secular world were also sold in different regions, and shopping malls were not allowed to trade goods at will. He did not expect that the same rule would be set here. Sure enough, all businessmen in the world were smart people. The waiter had been paying attention to Lin Yi's side. Seeing this, he immediately came up and explained enthusiastically, "Sir, you may not know this, but most of the chambers of commerce in the East Continent cooperate with the alchemists of the Academy. Therefore, in order to ensure the transcendent status of the East Continent, these elixirs can only be circulated in the East Continent, and are not allowed to be sold outside." Chapter 48:19. What if someone buys it and secretly brings it to other Heaven Stage islands? You can't check them one by one, can you? Lin Yi asked with great interest. If they went out of the East Continent, they would have to be searched one by one to prevent them from carrying any elixirs. Unfortunately, this was impossible. It's useless. Even if someone buys it and secretly brings it out, they can't sell it publicly because each of these restricted elixirs has a special mark number. The chambers of commerce on other Heaven Stage islands are not allowed to buy it privately, let alone sell it privately. Otherwise, they will be heavily punished by the merchant union, the waiter explained with a smile. I see. Lin Yi nodded. However, there was still a possibility of being smuggled. After all, as long as they didn't sell it publicly, they could trade it secretly without anyone knowing. Of course, this was not a small risk, because it was equivalent to offending the East Continent and the Merchant Union at the same time. Once it was found out, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, as long as the benefits were high enough, there would always be people who would take the risk. It was almost impossible to completely eliminate this kind of thing. However, there was a more difficult factor, and that was the treasure ships and battleships that came and went. Not everyone could go to other islands if they wanted to. While Lin Yi were talking, another waiter was also paying attention to this side. After listening for a while, he hurriedly ran to report, "Shopkeeper, there is a man who doesn't seem to be from the East Continent asking about the restricted elixirs." He asked very carefully. Maybe he wants to buy elixirs and secretly smuggle them back. Do you want to keep an eye on him? Oh, I'll go and see for myself. The shopkeeper immediately stood up. This kind of thing could not be careless. If someone really smuggled out and was found, not only would the smuggler be killed, but the Chamber of Commerce that bought the elixirs would also be punished. After all, no one knew whether the two parties colluded or not. They would definitely be punished 50 times as a warning to others. The shopkeeper was led by the waiter to stand in front of Lin Yi. After a careful look, he was stunned. He looked at Lin Yi again and again in disbelief. Finally, he confirmed the identity of the shopkeeper and said, "Vice President Lin?" Lin Yi heard the voice and turned to look at the person. He couldn't help but be stunned. "Shopkeeper Chai? Why are you here?" The person who had arrived was none other than Honest Chai, whom Lin Yi had personally groomed in the South Continent. However, this fellow was not obediently staying at the Y-Arc branch in South Continent as a shopkeeper. What was he doing here? Could it be that he had been transferred to East Continent? Listening to the conversation between the two, the two waiters couldn't help but look at each other in dismay. As it turned out, this fellow was actually an acquaintance of the shopkeeper. However, which faction was the title of vice president? He couldn't possibly be from the Hong Chamber of Commerce, right? The names of the vice presidents were all recorded during training, but none of them had the surname Lin, right? Vice President Lin, it really is you. I didn't dare to recognize you at first glance and thought I was seeing things. I didn't expect to meet you here. Honest Chai was pleasantly surprised and suggested, it's not convenient to reminisce here, why don't we go to a private room and have some tea? All right. Lin Yi nodded, and the two of them sat down in the private room. Honest Chai quickly ordered someone to brew a pot of high-grade spiritual tea, and when there was no one around, Lin Yi asked, "You are the shopkeeper here? In other words, you were transferred to the East Continent?" "That's right, I was just transferred here in the past half a year. I didn't expect to meet you here." Honest Chai was a little surprised and laughed, but then he slapped his head and said, "Look at my brain, your junior sister, Miss Huang, is in the Morning Star Academy, it's natural for you to come here." From the Y-Arc branch of the South Continent to the Morning Star Academy branch of the East Continent, Shopkeeper Chai, this is a big promotion for you. Lin Yi looked at him meaningfully. Although they were both shopkeepers, one was in the South Continent, while the other was in the East Continent. The difference in power between the two was like heaven and earth. Everyone knew that the East Continent branch was the most popular and lucrative position, but in the chaotic South Continent Sea region, it was undeniably a tough job. The profits from both sides were on completely different levels. In the past, Wei Xiaodong had been transferred from a vice shopkeeper here to the official shopkeeper of the Y-Arc branch of the South Continent. Even so, he had been promoted on the surface but demoted on the inside, causing him to feel depressed. One could imagine the difference between the two. "Vice President, you must be joking. This is all thanks to you. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have formed an alliance with the Equal Heaven Escort Agency. If it wasn't for you, how could we have become the new hegemon of the South Continent?" Honest Chai explained as he poured a cup of tea for Lin Yi. "Oh. You mean that the Equal Heaven Escort Agency has contributed a lot?" Lin Yi blinked his eyes. "That's right, we are all in the same boat. With the rise of the Equal Heaven Escort Agency, the business of our Y-Arc branch also rose with the tide, gradually expanding to the entire South Continent Sea region. If it wasn't for this, how could I have any achievements that would attract the attention of the higher-ups in the headquarters? Without any outstanding achievements, it would be impossible for me to be transferred to the East Continent." Honest Chai nodded. Transferred to the East Continent because of outstanding achievements. This reason sounded reasonable, but after careful consideration, Lin Yi realized that it didn't hold up. One must know that in a place like the Hong Chamber of Commerce, one's achievements alone could not guarantee a promotion. Especially with Honest Chai's meager qualifications. He had only been a branch manager for less than 2 years and was suddenly transferred to the East Continent. How could one be promoted so quickly? The lucrative positions in the East Continent branches were definitely in the hands of the higher-ups in the headquarters. Without the approval of these higher-ups, no matter how outstanding Honest Chai's achievements in the South Continent were, it was all for naught. Unless Hong Zhong gave him full support, then he would only have a sliver of a chance. However, Hong Zhong had been staying in the North Island all this time and had basically been pushed out of the core circle of the headquarters. Even if he wanted to help Honest Chai, it wouldn't be that easy. The last time Honest Chai was able to take the position of the Y-Arc branch manager was purely due to special circumstances. Thinking about it this way, the problem arose. How did Honest Chai get transferred to the East Continent? There must be a reason behind it, and it definitely wasn't as simple as his outstanding achievements. Unless he found another powerful backer. Honest Chai was someone that Lin Yi and Hong Zhong had groomed. To seek refuge with another backer without their approval was no different from betrayal. Chapter 48-20. It's not as simple as just outstanding results, right? Shopkeeper Chai, I really want to know how you were transferred here. Why don't you explain it to me? Lin Yi's face darkened. Honest Chai saw that Lin Yi's expression was not right and immediately reacted. Even though he looked weak and honest, he was still a businessman. His shrewdness was unquestionable, and this could be seen from how he dared to secretly record Wei Xiaodong's shady accounts. Vice President, don't think too much about it. Outstanding results is just a cover. This matter is indeed complicated, let me slowly explain it to you. Honest Chai hurriedly admitted. Speak, I'm listening. Lin Yi said without batting an eyelid. Actually, it wasn't because of my outstanding results in the South Continent. On the contrary, it was because they saw that I had made the Y branch's business bigger and stronger. Thus, the higher-ups from the headquarters wanted to take over the Y branch, using the excuse that my promotion was not in line with the rules to suppress me. Then, they sent their own trusted aides to take over the Y branch, Honest Chai said with a bitter smile. Lin Yi nodded. Even though he had never been to the headquarters of the Hong family enterprise, but from Hong Zhong's previous experience, he could tell that the people from the headquarters were indeed like that. Because they had hitched a ride on the Equal Heaven escort agency, everyone was originally disdainful of the Y branch. But in the end, they discovered that it had suddenly become a juicy cake. Especially Honest Chai, the current shopkeeper, who did not have much experience and was promoted as a special case. It would be strange if no one thought of taking over. What happened after that? Lin Yi asked. You also know that other than you and Vice President Hong, I don't know any of the higher-ups from the headquarters. Originally, this matter was already set in stone and no one would speak up for me. In the end, after Vice President Hong heard the news, he rushed back to the headquarters on Middle Island overnight to speak up for me. Honest Chai said emotionally. With old Hong's character, it's not strange for him to do so. Lin Yi smiled faintly. Hong Zhong was an experienced businessman, but Lin Yi realized that he was still a chivalrous man deep down in his bones. He was willing to sacrifice himself for his friends, and that wasn't something Hong Zhong wouldn't do. It was said that all businessmen were unscrupulous. Hong Zhong's character was actually not suitable for his identity. In many cases, only unscrupulous people could climb up the ladder faster, while people like him would be ostracized. However, Hong Zhong was very suitable to be an ally, a reliable ally who could trust him with his back. Yes, but the situation during the meeting was full of twists and turns. Even though Vice President Hong tried his best, he was still unable to secure my position as the Y-Arc branch's manager. There was no choice. They were adamant that a local promotion was against the rules. Even though it was due to the special circumstances back then, the special circumstances have long passed. Naturally, we have to set things right. Honest Chai smiled bitterly. Getting rid of the donkey once it's out of the millstone. Lin Yi could imagine the situation back then. Hong Zhong must have been extremely helpless and dejected. This was something that could not be helped. Even though he was the vice president, he did not have the authority to speak. Helping Honest Chai at the last minute would only result in him returning in defeat. This was already a foregone conclusion. If not for Vice President Hong's insistence, this matter would have ended there. No one would have paid any attention to me as the previous Y-Arc branch's manager. I would not even be able to remain as the original vice president. However, Vice President Hong strongly argued that I was a meritorious person. Even if I were to be transferred out of the Y-Arc branch, I must not be dealt with carelessly. Otherwise, it would disappoint everyone. Honest Chai grinned at this point and rejoiced. Come to think of it, I was really lucky. The Morning Star branch's manager was about to be transferred, and the position became vacant. So you took advantage of the situation and transferred over here? It can't be that easy, right? Lin Yi asked doubtfully. Of course it's not that easy. Every carrot has its own pit. This Morning Star branch's manager position has already been eyed by another high-ranking member of the headquarters. That person is Wei Xiaodong's backer, Vice President Ren. Honest Chai said. After Wei Xiaodong's matter, he still has the face to continue eyeing this place? Lin Yi curled his lips in disdain. Vice President Hong also raised this objection on the spot. After all, because of Wei Xiaodong, this Morning Star branch has already fallen out with the Morning Star Academy. You should know the situation here in Morning Star City. From top to bottom, the Morning Star Academy has the final say. How can one live a good life if they fall out with the Morning Star Academy? The reason why the previous manager applied for a transfer was because he could no longer continue working here. Otherwise, who would give up such a lucrative position so easily? Honest Chai shook his head. If that's the case, even though this is the East Continent, it's no longer a lucrative position. Once it's sealed off by the Morning Star Academy, it can't even be compared to the Y branch. No wonder it landed on you. Lin Yi laughed. Indeed, but that Vice President Ren did not intend to give up this position. It's just that Vice President Hong said that I was personally promoted by you. Furthermore, you have a good relationship with the higher-ranking members of the Morning Star Academy. Especially since your junior sister is the personal disciple of the godly nun of the Eastern Sea, it would be more convenient for me to start my business here. With this, the other higher-ranking members of the headquarters had no objections. After all, it doesn't affect their own interests. Furthermore, that Vice President Ren had nothing to say due to Wei Xiaodong's previous stain. Thus, this matter was decided. I see. Lin Yi looked at Honest Chai apologetically. It seemed like he had wronged him. This manager of the Morning Star branch also had many twists and turns. These were all things that Vice President Hong told me in his letter. Actually, even after I mentioned your name, that Vice President Ren still didn't want to let go. However, the higher-ranking member who suggested for me to be transferred started arguing with him. He couldn't even take care of himself, so he had no choice but to accept his fate. Honest Chai laughed. Oh. That fella is afraid that if he doesn't settle you down, his position as the Y branch's manager won't be stable. That's fine too. Let them fight amongst themselves, and you'll be able to take advantage of it. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. It's all thanks to you that I'm able to take advantage of this situation. If it were anyone else, it would be a chore. When I first arrived, this branch was already on the verge of closing down. Thankfully, I found Miss Huang to help me plead for mercy. Finally, I managed to get the godly nun of the Eastern Sea to speak up and restore our relationship with the Morning Star Academy. Because of this, I was able to gain a foothold here. Otherwise, it would be hard to say what would happen to me. Honest Chai rejoiced. Chapter 48-21. Are you talking about the purchasing Deacon Chin Deli? After the incident with Wei Xiaodong, his days were not good. However, he had a backer in the Morning Star Academy, so he wasn't arrested, and pushed all the blame onto our Hong Merchant Association. But this time, the Vice Dean of Eastern Ocean personally came forward, so even he wouldn't dare to obstruct us. After all, he already has a criminal record. Honest Chai explained. That's good. You've worked hard during this period. Lin Yi patted Honest Chai's shoulder. After understanding the situation, he felt much more relaxed. After all, if Honest Chai really betrayed them, even if he could clean up the house, he wouldn't feel good about it. Because that would only mean that he had misjudged him. Not at all. I only got to where I am today because of you and Vice President Hong's care. It's not hard work, it's what I should do. Seeing that Lin Yi finally believed in him, Honest Chai heaved a sigh of relief. Do a good job. You should know what kind of people old Hong and I are. We won't mistreat our own people. Lin Yi encouraged. Although Honest Chai wouldn't be of much use, he had a unique side to him in the Merchant Association. As long as he could guarantee his loyalty, there was no harm in nurturing him. Thank you very much for your kindness. I will definitely sacrifice my life for you until the day I die. Honest Chai immediately expressed his stance. He was honest and cowardly, but he wasn't a fool. At this moment, he had to show his loyalty. Otherwise, if he were to be reserved, he might ruin his future. Lin Yi chuckled and remembered the notice he saw on the street. Oh right, do you know about the Morningstar auction? I do. It's the highest level auction in Morningstar City. It's held irregularly. The last time it was held was 5 years ago. Honest Chai nodded and asked, could it be that you're interested? That's right. I'd like to experience it, but I don't know the rules. Lin Yi nodded. I'm sure everyone knows the rules. As long as you are a disciple of the Morningstar Academy, you can participate. All the large merchant associations here also have their own quotas. For example, our Hong Merchant Association can recommend our own people or acquaintances to participate. If you want to participate, why don't you use your own quota? Honest Chai suggested. All right, I'll leave this matter to you. Lin Yi smiled. He wanted to participate in this auction purely on a whim, but since the disciples of the Morningstar Academy could participate, he might even have the chance to meet Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao. As the two of them were talking, someone suddenly called out from outside the door, "Shopkeeper, the bill is ready. Do you want to take a look now?" Honest Chai looked at Lin Yi inquisitively, to which Lin Yi smiled nonchalantly. It's fine, if you have something to do, you can go and do it first, don't mind me. Honest Chai nodded and said to the door, Old Chai, come in. It's not an outsider inside. As soon as he said that, a middle-aged man with a long beard entered. Lin Yi looked at him and felt that he looked familiar. After thinking for a while, he finally remembered that this was someone from the Y-Arc branch. Back then, when he and Hong Zhong had helped Chai Laosher to become the branch manager of the Y-Arc branch, in order to better control the situation, they had allowed Chai Laosher to pick someone to be the branch's assistant manager. Chai Laosher had recommended this person. Cui Mingshan looked at Lin Yi after entering and was stunned for a while. He hurriedly cupped his hands and greeted, Cui Mingshan greets Vice President Lin. Huh, why are you here too? Lin Yi asked with a smile. Although he had not interacted much, Cui Mingshan could be considered one of his and Hong Zhong's men in the Hong family commerce. Replying to Vice President Lin, this subordinate took the initiative to apply for a transfer after hearing about shopkeeper Chai's matter. Otherwise, a new emperor will bring his own subordinates. After shopkeeper Chai leaves, this subordinate will definitely have a hard time. Cui Mingshan smiled bitterly as he looked at Honest Chai. This was a living example. Back in the Y-Arc branch, before Wei Xiaodong came, he was the glorious vice shopkeeper. In the end, when Wei Xiaodong came, he was immediately kicked to the side and became a complete idler. If not for his good fortune of meeting a great benefactor like Lin Yi, he might have been sitting on the bench for the rest of his life. Actually, old Chai's luck is not bad. Although the transfer of a vice shopkeeper does not need to go through all the higher-ups in the headquarters, other than having the support of the higher-ups, there must be a corresponding vacancy. At that time, the vice shopkeeper of the Morningstar branch applied to be transferred back to the headquarters in Middle Island because his performance was too bad. He would rather go back and do nothing than to frown here. Thus, the position was vacated for old Chai. Honest Chai added with a smile. Not bad. With the two of you here, you can take care of each other and control the situation better. Working hard in the branch may be difficult for others, but it is a rare opportunity for the two of you. Work hard in the future, and if you have any difficulties, you can look for me and Elder Hong anytime. We are all on the same side, and we will not sit idly by. Lin Yi nodded. Originally, whether it was Honest Chai or Cui Mingshan, it was impossible for them to be transferred to the East Continent. However, after Wei Xiaodong and the series of events that followed, the two of them were forcefully pushed to their current positions. This kind of successful experience could not be replicated by others. As the saying goes, heroes are created by the times. Thank you, Vice President Lin, for your concern. Cui Mingshan was overjoyed. Just like Honest Chai, he did not have any backing. Although he was part of Lin Yi and Hong Zhong's faction, he was at most Honest Chai's follower. Today, he finally received Lin Yi's acknowledgement. This was something he had always dreamed of. Alright, old Chai, let's reminisce about the past later. You said that the list is ready? Honest Chai asked. That's right, this is the auction item for today's auction. Please take a look. Cui Mingshan immediately handed over a list. Although this was a core secret of the Merchant Association, and it could be easily used by their competitors if it was leaked, Lin Yi was not an outsider in their eyes. Thus, there was no need to hide it. Lin Yi leisurely sat at the side and drank his tea. Honest Chai took the list and scanned it. Immediately, he furrowed his brows and stared at it for a long time. Chapter 48-22. Shopkeeper, I know what you're saying. I've really done my best. I've tried everything that I can think of. Cui Mingshan smiled helplessly and bitterly. This. Honest Chai scratched his head. Although it was a great achievement to make use of Huang Xiaodao's relationship with the Morning Star Academy, if they were to make a fool of themselves during the auction, and their competitors took advantage of it, they might not be able to keep their position as partners. There's nothing we can do. The Morning Star Academy branch was already in a mess before we came here. The suppliers that we've been in contact with have all switched to other companies. Although it has recovered a little in the past half a year, it won't be able to return to its previous scale in a short period of time. It's easier said than done to get high-quality goods. Cui Mingshan sighed helplessly. Seeing the two dejected expressions, Lin Yi, who was drinking tea at the side, was slightly taken aback. He immediately said, "Let me see the list." Oh. Although Honest Chai felt a little embarrassed, he still passed the list to Lin Yi. Lin Yi took a quick look. The goods listed weren't of low quality. At least in the South Continent and the other Heaven Islands, they were already rare goods. However, in Lin Yi's eyes, more than half of them weren't that precious. If Lin Yi was like this, then there was no need to mention the wealthy and distinguished guests of the East Continent. It would be difficult to attract much attention with just these goods, let alone stand out in an auction like the Morning Star auction. The dignified Hong Merchant Association would be laughed at if they couldn't bring out any decent goods. Are the goods being auctioned this time very important? Lin Yi couldn't help but ask. From what the two said, this auction seemed to have a great impact on the Hong Merchant Association. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so distressed. It's extremely important. Vice Chairman Lin, you might not know this, but the Morning Star auction is actually aimed at our Hong Merchant Association. Our success or failure will directly affect whether we can gain a foothold here. Honest Chai laughed bitterly. Oh. Isn't this the highest standard auction in Morning Star City? Why are they targeting our Hong Chamber of Commerce? Lin Yi couldn't help but ask curiously. The reason is actually very simple. Ever since we fell out with the Morning Star Academy, our Morning Star Academy has been on the decline. Since then, the rights to cooperate with us have fallen into the hands of a few of our competitors. However, because the Vice Dean of the East Sea Academy personally spoke up, we managed to snatch back the rights to cooperate with them. That's why we have a grudge against them. Honest Chai explained. Even if there's no such thing, we're competitors to begin with. Does it really matter whether we have a grudge or not? Lin Yi said noncommittally. That's not the same. In the past, even though these merchant associations were competitors, they had never tasted the sweetness of victory. At most, they would be envious. But this time, we snatched the cooperation rights from their hands. How could they let it go so easily? Honest Chai smiled bitterly. Alright, but what does this have to do with the Morning Star auction? Lin Yi asked doubtfully. Any merchant association that can establish a foothold here will more or less have some connection with the higher-ups of the Morning Star Academy. This time, they came forward to pressure the higher-ups of the Academy and requested for the Morning Star auction to be held. It's actually a battle. The merchant association that performs the best in the auction will obtain the rights to cooperate with the Academy and become the sole supplier of the Academy. Honest Chai said bitterly. Oh. Even the divine nun of the East Sea tacitly agreed? Lin Yi couldn't help but frown. Regardless of the final outcome, this naturally took away the cooperation rights from the Hong Chamber of Commerce. It was also equivalent to slapping the divine nun of the East Sea in the face. After all, she was the one who helped the Hong Chamber of Commerce recover. Even if she didn't agree, even though the Vice Dean of the East Sea Academy has a high status, she doesn't have the final say in the Morning Star Academy. With so many higher-ups of the Academy coming forward, let alone the Vice Dean, even the Dean Ling Yuanqing wouldn't be able to suppress them with just a sentence. Honest Chai shook his head. Not only that, according to what I know, the chief alchemist of the Morning Star Academy has already formed an alliance with the rich and powerful families. He played a big role in this matter, and it was because of his appearance that the Academy decided to hold the Morning Star auction. Cui Mingshan added. The position of the chief alchemist was extremely high in any Yellow Step Academy in the East Continent. For example, in the Soaring Cloud Academy, Ren Tiansua's position was second only to the dean. In the Morning Star Academy, even if it wasn't as exaggerated, it was still not a small matter, especially when it came to cooperation. No academy would disrespect their chief alchemist for an external merchant association. After all, there were many powerful merchant associations, but if the chief alchemist ran away, it would be very difficult to find a suitable replacement. It would even affect the strength of a large number of academy disciples, so they couldn't afford to be careless. Lin Yi nodded thoughtfully. Suddenly, he thought of the 6th and 7th grade pills in the display cabinet downstairs. He couldn't help but ask, since the Academy's alchemist is already an ally of the other merchant associations, how did the 6th and 7th grade pills downstairs come about? Could it be from the other branches? Vice President Lin, you must be joking. The two of us have just arrived and haven't even seen the shopkeepers of the other branches of the Hong Clan Merchant Association. Who would be so kind as to supply us? This kind of high-grade pill is directly related to one's performance. Everyone would hide it, unless they have a good relationship. Only then would they be able to save the day. Moreover, they would have to return it immediately. Otherwise, it would be useless even if they were beaten to death. Honest Chai smiled bitterly. From a certain perspective, the competition between the branches of the Hong Clan Merchant Association was even more intense than the other merchant associations. After all, the competition with the other merchant associations only affected the merchant association's profits. However, the competition between the shopkeepers of the same branch would directly affect each other's futures. Then how did it come about? Lin Yi asked curiously. As far as he knew, level 6 and level 7 elixirs were not available through normal channels. They were either supplied internally by the Hong Chamber of Commerce or cooperated with the school's alchemists. There shouldn't be a third way. To tell you the truth, these pills were all bought one by me and old Chai from other cities. It was basically a losing business, but in order to keep up appearances, we had no choice. Honest Chai said bitterly. Chapter 48-23. When he first walked into the Hong Merchant Guild, he felt that the business here was flourishing with each passing day. However, it was actually filled with danger. If not for him coincidentally bumping into them, Honest Chai and Cui Mingshan might have fallen into misfortune, or even be finished. Doesn't that mean that the aristocratic guild will definitely win? Lin Yi asked. Since the head alchemist of the Morning Star Academy was the aristocratic guild's ally, the other guilds, including the Hong Merchant Guild, would not be able to compete with them in terms of high-grade pills. When the time comes, the Hong Merchant Guild would definitely be in the limelight. That might not be the case. It's true that the aristocratic guild has the support of the Academy's head alchemist, and it would be easy for them to obtain high-grade pills. However, if they were to auction off the pills refined by the Academy's alchemist, it would not be considered as having any ability. If the Morning Star Academy decided that the aristocratic guild would be the aristocratic guild because of this, wouldn't they be slapping their own faces? Honest Chai shook his head. Using the Academy's own pills to give to the aristocratic guild, and then letting the aristocratic guild auction it off to the Morning Star Academy. If this were to spread, people would definitely laugh their heads off. The higher-ups of the academy would not do such a stupid thing. Lin Yi nodded his head and laughed. That's right. However, the aristocratic guild is still very popular this time. Other than the academy's alchemist, they have their own channels. Rumor has it that they have prepared a set of 10 golden condensing nascent pills. Honest Chai sighed, unable to conceal the envy on his face. One could not blame him for being envious. The golden condensing nascent pill was the main pill in the Eastern Continent's golden level C. Because most of the students here were golden core and nascent soul experts, everyone could use it. Thus, the price would naturally soar. Especially if a set of 10 was put up for auction, it would definitely fetch a sky-high price. Only 10 golden condensing nascent pills? Lin Yi smiled faintly after hearing that, and said something shocking, then we'll auction 5 Thunder Profound pills. Huh? What did you say? Honest Chai and Chui Mingshan were dumbfounded. They looked at each other in disbelief, thinking that they were hallucinating. Lin Yi smiled and didn't say anything. He took out the lightning Xian pills he refined in Soaring Cloud Academy and lined them up in front of the two. Every time he took out a pill, Honest Chai and Chui Mingshan sucked in a breath of cold air. By the time all 5 pills were laid out on the table, the two of them were completely dumbfounded. What? Is that not enough? Lin Yi glanced at the two of them. No. Honest Chai and Chui Mingshan waved their hands. As the shopkeeper and vice shopkeeper of the branch, they were people who had seen the world. Lin Yi taking out 5 lightning Xian pills in one go was already heaven-defying enough. The 10 golden soul pills that the rich families would give out were on a completely different level compared to this. The value of these pills couldn't even be mentioned in the same breath. In the Yellow Steppe Sea region of the Eastern Continent, the golden nascent condensation pill could only be regarded as the pursuit of ordinary disciples, while the real elite disciples were all trying to break through to the profound ascension realm. Only the profound thunder pill was the pill that they dreamed of, and it was something that they wanted to obtain at all costs. Still not enough? That's fine. Hurry up and get some ingredients. I will use this opportunity to refine some rare pills. Beauty pill and other ingredients can be brought over. Hurry up. Lin Yi ordered. Beauty pill? You can even refine pills of this grade? Honest Chai and Chui Mingshan were completely shocked. They didn't even know that Lin Yi was an alchemist. Moreover, he was a rare 7th grade alchemist. This was enough for him to become the chief alchemist of the school. It's all right. I've only refined the profound lightning pill before. I haven't tried the beauty pill before. I can give it a try. Lin Yi smiled. Vice President is truly an expert. Honest Chai and Chui Mingshan looked at each other with 3 words written on their faces. I'm convinced. Originally, they were at their wits' end. But with the sudden appearance of a great god like Lin Yi, all their problems were easily solved. The two of them couldn't wait to send out orders to prepare all kinds of ingredients. The auction would begin in a few days, and time was of the essence. Lin Yi thus stayed at the Hong Clan Merchant Guild to refine pills. The almighty Shishan who had been tailing Lin Yi was speechless. He had been following Lin Yi from afar until he saw Lin Yi walk into the Hong Clan Merchant Guild. Then, he could only wait outside the door. After all, the Hong Clan Merchant Guild might not have as detailed an inspection as an inn, but large-scale merchant guilds like this would have surveillance arrays installed. Who knows, his identity as a heretic cultivator might be exposed. In the end, the almighty Shishan waited for an entire day. Even when the sky turned dark, he didn't see Lin Yi coming out. He couldn't help but feel bewildered. What's going on? Could he have escaped from the back door? But as soon as this thought popped up, he rejected it himself. That couldn't be. His divine sense had been enveloping the surroundings from morning to night, but he didn't find Lin Yi at all. Therefore, there was only one possibility. Lin Yi was still in the Hong Clan Merchant Guild. But now that the Merchant Guild was closed and Lin Yi didn't come out, the almighty Shishan couldn't wait any longer. He couldn't help but go up and ask, "Are there any customers inside?" The waiter in charge of closing glanced at him, shook his head, and said, "I'm sorry, all the customers have left. If you need anything, please come early tomorrow." "Is that so?" The almighty Shishan looked inside and saw that there was indeed no one inside. He could only shake his head and leave. As he walked, he muttered, "How can that be? That's impossible. TSK. But that kid does have some strange tricks up his sleeves. He might really be able to hide from my divine sense and escape. Could he have returned to the inn?" Thinking of this, the almighty Shishan hurriedly ran back to the inn and waited there. Lin Yi made him suffer so much this time, he wouldn't let this dog off so easily. In the end, the almighty Shishan stayed there for 3 days. With his pitiful appearance as a beggar, the amount of spirit jades he collected was enough to make him rich. But he didn't even see half a shadow of Lin Yi. This time, the almighty Shishan was completely discouraged. Even a beggar who lived in the wilderness for so many days would lose his temper, let alone a mysterious ascended late-stage evil practitioner like him. If his fellow sect members saw him like this, he wouldn't be able to raise his head in his next life. There was no other way, the almighty Shishan couldn't endure it anymore. He decided to leave first and come back to settle the score with this dog after he recovered from his injuries. 5 days passed in a flash. Lin Yi stretched his back and walked out of the room that Honest Chai had specially prepared for him. In these few days, other than his normal cultivation, he had been busy refining elixirs. He only came out this morning because today was the official day of the Morning Star auction. Chapter 48-24. Lin Yi calmly arrived at the first floor, where a large group of busybodies had already gathered. Standing in the center was Honest Chai and a few middle-aged men dressed as businessmen. "Shopkeeper Chai, today is the day of the auction. I heard that your Hong Merchant Association has prepared quite a few good items. Can you take them out and let us old friends have a look?" One of the middle-aged men said with a smile that wasn't a smile. "Shopkeeper Hao, before the auction ends, we are not allowed to divulge the information of the auction items. This is a clear rule of the Morning Star auction. However, the auction items of your prestigious Metropolis Association seem to have caused quite a commotion recently." Honest Chai replied in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing. Our prestigious Metropolis Association is not like your Hong Merchant Association who hides things. As the saying goes, don't tell others if you have nothing to say. Since it is something that is destined to be auctioned, what's wrong with letting everyone know a few days in advance? At least we can be mentally prepared. Furthermore, this is approved by the Morning Star Academy. Even if you want to complain, there's no use. Shopkeeper House said with a confident smile. "That's right, Shopkeeper Chai, have you forgotten? In order to warm up the auction, every merchant association can divulge 1 or 2 items in advance. Of course, it has to be something good. However, I don't think we've heard of the Hong Merchant Association divulging anything." Another middle-aged man dressed as a shopkeeper said maliciously. "Shopkeeper Jean, they are different from us. If they have something good, they will hide it well. Who asked them to be the sole supplier of the Morning Star Academy? Of course, they have to do things with style." Shopkeeper Hao said. Shopkeeper Hao's words are wrong. I don't think they have anything good to take out. From what I see, the sole supplier for the Morning Star Academy will fall into the hands of your aristocratic guild. After all, a set of 10 golden condensing nascent pills is a huge sum of money. In the future, please take good care of my gold chamber of commerce." Shopkeeper Jean said, echoing each other. Of course. However, we still have to ask Shopkeeper Chai. They are the final item of the auction. What if they are hiding something big? Shopkeeper Chai, why don't you divulge it? Shopkeeper Hao glanced at Honest Chai. Shopkeeper Hao, Shopkeeper Jean, did you come here just for this? Honest Chai looked at the two of them with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. Before Lin Yi came, his heart was filled with trepidation. But now, a set of 10 golden condensing nascent pills? That was nothing. Sort of. Manager Hao and Manager Jean looked at each other and smiled. Actually, they had already investigated the background of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. This time, the Hong Chamber of Commerce was basically forced to the edge of a cliff. There was absolutely no chance for them to make a comeback, unless the sun rose from the west. Then I'm really sorry. Not revealing one's wealth has always been the motto of our Hong Merchant Guild. Regardless of whether it's an explicit rule of the auction, as long as it's an item that our Hong Merchant Guild is providing, we will not leak any information before the auction to prevent any loss of fairness. If the two of you are really curious, why don't you wait a little longer? In any case, the auction is about to begin. Honest Chai said indifferently. What a great loss of fairness. How admirable. Shopkeeper Chai, you're clearly trying to keep everyone's curiosity in suspense. Manager Hao said indifferently. Suspense doesn't matter. Since they're the grand finale, they have to put on a show. I'm just afraid that in the end, they won't be able to bring out anything decent. That would be a real joke. At that time, I don't think the Hong Merchant Guild will need to embarrass themselves anymore. They should just close down as soon as possible. That way, they can at least preserve some of their reputation. What do you say, Shopkeeper Chai? Shopkeeper Jean mocked without the slightest scruple. Hee, Shopkeeper Jean must be joking. Up until now, the Hong Merchant Guild has never closed down a single branch. Naturally, they won't set a precedent with me. However, the situation of your Golden Chamber of Commerce doesn't seem too optimistic. Recently, 5 branches have already closed down. I wonder how much longer Shopkeeper Jin's side can last. Honest Chai glanced at him and said. You. Shopkeeper Jean was instantly choked speechless. The Golden Chamber of Commerce wasn't a grand merchant guild. It couldn't be compared to a top-notch merchant guild like the Hong Merchant Guild. Recently, due to poor management, the Golden Chamber of Commerce had closed down 5 branches. This was already a serious blow. If this continued, the entire merchant guild might collapse. Helpless, the Golden Chamber of Commerce finally decided to fully support the Metropolis Guild. They wanted to use this opportunity to tide over this crisis. It was also because of this reason that Shopkeeper Jean was desperately trying to flatter Shopkeeper Hao. Shopkeeper Hao might very well become his direct superior in the future. Shopkeeper Chai, it seems like you've just arrived and aren't well informed. With our Metropolis Guild backing you up, it won't be easy for the Golden Chamber of Commerce to collapse. If you have the time, you should worry more about yourself. Shopkeeper Hao glanced at Honest Chai with disdain and immediately left with Shopkeeper Jean. Take care. I won't be sending you off. Honest Chai calmly waved his hand as if he wasn't going to budge, causing the surrounding crowd to look at him in a new light. Lin Yi slightly nodded his head at this scene. Although Honest Chai didn't have much of an aura to speak of and always gave others a feeling of weakness and being easily bullied, from his neither servile nor overbearing demeanor, it seemed like this fellow was still capable of standing on the stage. Of course, this was all thanks to Lin Yi. If it weren't for the 7th grade Dan he had refined in the past few days, Honest Chai's heart would have been extremely weak. Facing Shopkeeper Hao and the others, he naturally wouldn't be so confident. You've come out of seclusion. Seeing Lin Yi come out, Honest Chai quickly and respectfully welcomed him. The surrounding crowd couldn't help but raise their eyebrows. What was this young man's background? Just a moment ago, Shopkeeper Chai was neither servile nor overbearing. How did he turn into a lackey the moment he saw him? The auction is about to begin, right? Lin Yi asked. That's right, old Chui has already sent the auction items over. Why don't we head over now? Honest Chai asked. All right. Lin Yi nodded and the two of them immediately set off for the auction. Although the Morning Star auction was hosted by Morning Star Academy, it wasn't held within the academy itself. Instead, it was held in a large building in Morning Star City named the First Pavilion. Arriving at the entrance of the First Pavilion, Lin Yi raised his head and couldn't help but exclaim, "This pavilion is really big." Chapter 48-25. Not only did the exterior look similar, but even the layout and structure of the interior were the same. However, compared to the iconic bullfighting ring in the secular world, this place was not only larger, but the various facilities were also more luxurious. Of course, the biggest difference was that this place was not open air. Surrounding it were a circle of exquisite and luxurious boxes, and below it was a huge and spacious area. There were hundreds of seats scattered around the area, and in the center of the area was an extremely conspicuous high platform. It was obviously the host's platform for the auction. Lin Yi looked at the magnificent scene in front of him and could not help but be speechless. He had been to many high-class auctions before. Whether it was the one in the extreme North Island or the one in the Middle Island, they were all first-rate auctions. However, disregarding everything else, just the layout alone was slightly inferior to the one in front of him. As expected of the Eastern continent. The moment Lin Yi and Honest Chai entered the door, they saw shopkeeper Hao and shopkeeper Jean. When they saw Honest Chai, a playful smile appeared on their faces. "Shopkeeper Chai, I didn't expect to see you again so soon. Speaking of which, where are your seats?" Shopkeeper Hao asked with a face full of ridicule. As for Lin Yi, he did not even look at him, thinking that he was just a small follower. Number 1. Honest Chai pointed to the area in front of him. Number 1 was the table closest to the host's platform, and was considered a very good seat. "Oh, it sounds like it's very impressive. But why did I hear that every single person with a bit of status has their own box? What's the meaning of this? Your Hong Merchant Guild is so famous, yet you can't even get a box and can only squeeze with the ordinary disciples? TSK. Shopkeeper Jean did not miss the opportunity to make sarcastic remarks. Honest Chai's expression changed slightly. This was indeed a thorn in his heart. It was obvious that the other competitors were ganging up against the Hong Merchant Union, and the Morning Star Academy was supposed to be the neutral judge. However, from the distribution of seats, the Academy's stance could be seen. Although table number 1 sounded impressive, it was basically putting the Hong Chamber of Commerce on fire. It would only be a joke. Otherwise, with the status of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, they would at least be able to get a VIP room, and they would at least be in the top 10. Listening to shopkeeper Jin's words, your Golden Chamber of Commerce should have been allocated a private room, right? I wonder what number it is? Honest Chai retorted with a slap to his face. Shopkeeper Jean was once again rendered speechless. His old face turned red as he shrunk his neck back. What a joke. His Golden Chamber of Commerce was already on the verge of bankruptcy. It was already good enough that he could participate in this auction. How could he possibly be allowed to sit in the VIP box? Number 12. Shopkeeper Hao suddenly replied, that is the box of my aristocratic metropolis. Although the Golden Chamber of Commerce doesn't have one, it has already become a subsidiary of my aristocratic metropolis. Naturally, it can enter the box with me. I wonder if Shopkeeper Chai is interested? Honest Chai, I think you should quickly agree. Your Hong Chamber of Commerce may have a great background, but it is a pity that it cannot save your Morning Star Academy branch. If you rely on Shopkeeper Hao, you can at least keep a roof over your head. Furthermore, you won't have to squeeze below with the normal disciples and become a joke. We are all businessmen who care about appearances, and we want our face, don't you think so? Shopkeeper Jean cooperated. Yes, you are right. I do want my face, but it is a pity that you don't. Therefore, it is better for me to stay away from you, lest I become a joke. Honest Chai glanced at him. Being looked at like a dog in front of his face, shopkeeper Jean was instantly enraged. If not for the fact that the surroundings were filled with disciples of the Morning Star Academy guards, he would have fought with honest Chai to the death. Although he was indeed shopkeeper Hao's dog, how could he expose someone's scars like this? Humph, you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Once the auction is over, it will be useless even if you beg me again. At that time, your Morning Star Academy branch won't even have the qualifications to be a subsidiary of my aristocratic metropolis. Just wait for it to close down. Shopkeeper Hao's expression turned cold, and he immediately left with shopkeeper Jean. Lin Yi and honest Chai looked at each other. They couldn't be bothered to look at this clown anymore, and directly walked towards table number 1. At this moment, the auction was about to begin, and people from all walks of life were entering the venue. In a short moment, the entire venue was filled with people, and it was extremely lively. Lin Yi swept his gaze around, and realized that this was indeed the headquarters of the Morning Star Academy. More than half of the people in the venue were disciples of the Morning Star Academy, and the rest were people from all walks of life. However, one thing was for sure, these people definitely had an impressive background and connections, or else they wouldn't have the qualifications to enter the venue. With so many disciples of the Morning Star Academy, Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao might be among them. Lin Yi immediately wanted to use his divine sense to investigate, but he realized that it was impossible to do so. It was as if there was some kind of special array that completely blocked his divine sense. Since he couldn't use his divine sense to investigate, Lin Yi could only use his eyes to confirm one by one. However, the problem was that the people in the VIP booths couldn't be seen unless they opened the curtains and the angle was just right, or else they wouldn't be able to see the situation inside the booths. After sweeping his gaze across everyone in the venue, Lin Yi could only return to his seat in disappointment. There was no sign of Wang Xinyan or Huang Xiaotao among them, but it wasn't strange after thinking about it. They were the only 2 personal disciples of the Divine Nun of the Eastern Sea, and with the Divine Nun of the Eastern Sea status, it was normal for them to be given a VIP booth. Amidst the hustle and bustle, the Morning Star auction ceremony finally began. A white-haired old man with a ruddy complexion walked up to the center of the stage under everyone's gazes. Following that was a deluge of extravagant opening remarks. It turned out that this old man was the official host specially invited by the Morning Star Academy. The white-haired elder was only in charge of the opening speech, and the next person who walked up to the stage made Lin Yi's eyes light up. This was a familiar face, the dean of the Morning Star Academy, Ling Yuanqing. Chapter 48-26. Everyone was originally drowsy from listening, but after hearing Ling Yuanqing's last sentence, they immediately woke up. The one who spoke on stage was the highly respected Ling Yuanqing. If it was anyone else, they would have already started cursing. The white-bearded old man immediately took over the stage, and mobilized everyone's emotions, saying, "Everyone, today is the first day of the auction, and it's a special auction for the Chamber of Commerce. In other words, all of the auction items will be provided by each Chamber of Commerce. I hope that everyone will keep their eyes open, because the items you'll see today are all good items that you can't buy from your own Chamber of Commerce. If you miss this opportunity, you won't have another chance." Hearing him say this, everyone revealed an expectant expression. If these items could be bought normally, they wouldn't have to go through so much trouble to attend the auction. The first item of the auction is from the Aristocratic Chamber of Commerce. A set of 10 golden nascent gathering pills, all of which are of high quality. The starting price is 1 million spirit jades. The white-bearded old man immediately announced. There was an uproar below the stage. As expected of the rare Morning Star auction ceremony. The items that were auctioned off at the beginning of the auction were just some ordinary goods, but no one had expected that it would be such a heavyweight item this time. 10 high-grade golden nascent condensation pills were good stuff that one might not even be able to buy with spirit jades on normal days. Seeing everyone's shocked expressions, shopkeeper Hao, who was in box 12, couldn't help but reveal a proud expression. For the sake of this auction, the rich and powerful associations had put in a lot of effort. With great difficulty, they had managed to gather this group of high-quality golden pills. They were determined to obtain the qualifications to cooperate with the Morning Star Academy. Although the few chambers of commerce had joined forces to deal with the Hong Chamber of Commerce, after defeating the Hong Chamber of Commerce, they would still be competitors with each other. After spending so much effort, if they couldn't obtain the qualifications to cooperate with the Hong Chamber of Commerce in the end, then it would really be like drawing water with a bamboo basket. 1,100,000. Immediately, a man dressed in merchant attire called out impatiently. Although the Gathering Nascent Soul Golden Pill was a relatively common pill, it did not have a fixed price. Along with the market, it fluctuated greatly. Especially for a high-quality Gathering Nascent Soul Golden Pill, it could not be bought at 100,000 per pill. Even 200,000 depended on luck. 1.5 million. A voice from room 10 rang out. Everyone raised their eyebrows. Logically speaking, people at the level of the VIP box should not have much need for the Gathering Nascent Soul Golden Pill, but ordinary disciples like them needed it more. Unfortunately, they did not have such strong financial resources. If each pill was sold separately, there would still be a chance, but now that they were auctioned in groups of 10, they could only look on and sigh. Actually, if it was just for the spiritual jades, according to past experience, it would be more worthwhile to auction them individually. However, the wealthy clans had made up their minds to use this opportunity to make a name for themselves. Naturally, they would not bother with such a small amount. 2 million. This time, the voice came from private room number 4. The audience went into an uproar once again. It wasn't because the number was too high, but because the identity of the owner of the voice was extraordinary. Although they didn't know the true identity of this person, the fact that he was able to be in the 4th box spoke for itself. As soon as private room number 4 opened his mouth, no one dared to bid anymore. Even the person in room number 10 who had previously opened his mouth also stopped bidding. It seemed that he did not want to offend the other party because of this group of Gathering Nascent Soul Golden Pills. In the end, this group of Gathering Nascent Soul Golden Pills was sold for 2 million spiritual jades and fell into the hands of private room number 4. Regarding this result, shopkeeper Hao felt helpless. He held his forehead and did not know what to say. Although he had prepared some other auction items, the one he valued the most was still this group of Gathering Nascent Soul Golden Pills. In his expectations, even if it could not reach 3 million, it would at least reach 2.5 million. In the end, because of the interference of private room number 4, he lost 500,000 spiritual jades. This simply made him want to cry but have no tears. It's okay, it's okay. 2 million is also a rare good start. Including the other auction items, the total transaction value can reach at least 5 million. It is enough to overwhelm the other chambers of commerce. Shopkeeper Hao could only comfort himself like this. Indeed, as he expected, the next 5 auction items were all from his noble metropolis. Although it did not cause a sensation like the 10 superior Gathering Nascent Soul Golden Pills, each of them was not an ordinary item. Adding them together, the final transaction value reached a huge amount of 5.3 million spiritual jades. Finally, he had reached the expected goal, which made him breathe a sigh of relief. Everyone, the next auction item is from the Wan Tong Conference, a 7th grade Great Recover Pill. The starting price is 1.2 million spiritual jades. The white-bearded old man announced. The audience suddenly exclaimed. Even Lin Yi, who had been indifferent before, was slightly surprised. As an alchemist, of course, Lin Yi knew about the 7th grade Great Recover Pill. This was relatively rare among all the 7th grade Great Recover Pills. It could restore the injuries and true qi of a profound ascending stage master in a short period of time. Leng Rufan had taken one in the process of fighting with him for half a month. Otherwise, he would not have survived at all. Lin Yi was still slightly surprised. At this moment, shopkeeper Hao in the 12th box simply stared his eyes out. He thought that his 10 superior Gathering Nascent Soul Golden Pills were already rare, but he did not expect that the Wantong Conference would quietly take out a 7th grade Great Recover pill. Shopkeeper Hao could not help but have an extremely bad premonition. Although there was only one, this 7th grade Great Recover pill was simply a second life for a profound ascending stage master. Its attraction was far stronger than his gathering nascent soul golden pills. Looking at the audience, these profound ascending stage masters in the VIP box were the real main force of the auction. 2 million. The first bid from the 6th box made Shopkeeper Hao's heart cold. This was already comparable to the transaction price of 10 gathering nascent soul golden pills. 3 million. It was the 4th box again. 5 million. However, this time, the 6th box did not intend to retreat. Instead, it showed that he was determined to get it. 3 million. The 4th box called out again. All the spectators were shocked. Even if it was a 7th grade recover pill, 3 million spiritual jades was already a sky-high price. Who was sitting in the 4th box? Why was he so rich in spiritual jades? 1 million. The 6th box hesitated for a moment. 5 million. The number 4 booth immediately raised the price by a large margin. This time, not only was everyone shocked speechless, but the number 6 booth also lost its temper. In the end, this grade 7 great revitalizing pill fell into the hands of the number 4 booth, just like the 10 gathering nascent golden pills from before. Chapter 48-27. At this moment, Shopkeeper Hao's tears flowed down his face. They were both in booth number 4, but his 10 golden condensing nascent pills were only worth 2 million spirit jades, while the other party's great returning pill was worth 3.5 million spirit jades. What was there to fight over? As expected, after a few auctions in the all-knowing gathering, the total transaction value was as high as 7,600,000 spirit jades, far surpassing the wealthy associations. Shopkeeper Hao's face instantly turned green with regret. Whether it was instigating the Morning Star auction ceremony or preparing all sorts of auction items, his wealthy guild was definitely the one who put in the most effort. In the end, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. In the end, the all-knowing Grand Assembly had taken the lead. The auction continued, and the next to appear was the Eastern Continent's Eastern Chamber of Commerce. However, they were not as scheming as the previous two. Although the treasures they brought out were rare treasures, they were not large in quantity and did not have enough gimmicks. In the end, the total transaction value was only 5 million spirit jades. It seemed like they did not intend to compete for the partnership with the Morning Star Academy. From the beginning until now, although the crowd was in an uproar, Lin Yi did not have any intention of bidding. With his capital, he obviously did not lack spirit jades. It was just that these auctioned items were too orthodox, and it was difficult for him to be interested in them. After all, he could refine the 7th grade great recovering pill himself, so there was no need for him to bid. This was a common problem with the Chamber of Commerce's auctions. If one wanted to see all kinds of strange treasures, they would have to wait until the individual auctions. Alright, the next auction item is from the Central Chamber of Commerce. I believe everyone has heard of it. They are all high-tech products from the secular world. Before we start the auction, we will first demonstrate their functions. The white-bearded old man announced. As soon as he finished speaking, the staff of the Central Chamber of Commerce brought a series of technological products onto the stage and demonstrated them one by one. After all, if the functions of these things were not clearly explained, no one would know what they were used for. Of course, they would not be able to auction them. Tablets, digital cameras, walkie-talkies. Lin Yi looked at the row of technological products on the stage and shook his head speechlessly. He even saw micro-tapping devices among them. If he didn't know that this was Heaven's Stage Island, he might have thought that this was some kind of digital store in the secular world. After the demonstration, the auction continued. Although there weren't any elixirs or heavenly treasures this time, the audience's response was equally enthusiastic. However, Although these technological products were novel, it was impossible for them to be like the 7th grade Great Revitalizing Pill, which was sold at a sky-high price of several million spirit jades. After all, no one was a fool. They could accept spending several tens of thousands of spirit jades for entertainment, but they couldn't afford to spend millions of spirit jades. Unless water got into his head. In the end, the Central Chamber of Commerce's series of technological products only sold for less than 2 million spirit jades. This was also because of the large quantity. Otherwise, even 1 million would not be realistic. Of course, it was impossible for the Central Chamber of Commerce to compete with the Morning Star Academy. After all, what the Academy needed the most were various kinds of spirit jades, and this was precisely the Central Chamber of Commerce's weak point. It was not something that could be made up for in a short period of time. After watching this round of excitement, Lin Yi sighed in disappointment. He had thought that the Central Chamber of Commerce would be able to communicate with the secular world like the Central Island auction. If that was the case, he would definitely bid for it. It was a pity that he didn't mention this matter from start to finish. It seemed like what Si Haishao had said was true. The Central Chamber of Commerce had already stopped this business. Every Chamber of Commerce took the stage. Other than a few exceptions like the Eastern Chamber of Commerce and the Central Chamber of Commerce, almost all the chambers of commerce that participated in this auction were aiming for the Morning Star Academy's partnership. They all gave their all, and good things that could not be bought normally could be found everywhere. However, there was a huge disparity in the strength of the chambers of commerce. The small chambers of commerce could not be compared to the large chambers of commerce. It was fine for them to take out 1 or 2 precious items, but it was impossible for them to take out 8 or 10 of them at once. If it was just a normal treasure, it would obviously not be able to make it to this level of auction. As a result, there were very few chambers of commerce that could reach a total of 3 million spirit jades. As for the record of 6 million spirit jades, even the rich and powerful chambers of commerce could only look at it in the dust. If there were no accidents, the all-purpose Chamber of Commerce was destined to be the biggest winner of this auction. From then on, it would become the only supplier for the Morning Star Academy. It could be foreseen that in the future, the title of the number 1 Chamber of Commerce in Morning Star City would change owners and fall on the head of the all-purpose Chamber of Commerce. One had to know that in Morning Star City, whether or not one could obtain the full support of the Morning Star Academy was a decisive factor for any Chamber of Commerce. After all the chambers of commerce had their turn, the last to appear was the Hong Chamber of Commerce. After all, it was the only Chamber of Commerce that cooperated with the Academy. According to common sense, it should be the last to appear. However, those with a discerning eye knew that the Hong Chamber of Commerce was not as good as it was in the past. It was a true sacrificial lamb in this auction. Although it sounded impressive to be the last to appear, it was actually done on purpose to embarrass him. Everyone knew that the last item had to be of a higher level than all the previous items. If it could not satisfy everyone's expectations, then the Hong Chamber of Commerce's reputation would be destroyed, and they would never be able to raise their heads in Morning Star City again. We worked so hard for nothing, and now we're letting that one guy take advantage of us. Luckily, us rich and powerful chambers of commerce have always been at odds with the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Destroying one of their branches can be considered an explanation to the higher-ups. Shopkeeper Hao comforted himself as he hid in box 12. That's right. With that little bit of ability of honest chai, he can't even take out a few golden nascent pills, let alone the finale. Just wait for him to make a fool of himself. Shopkeeper Jean laughed coldly. Everyone, there are still 4 more items to be auctioned. They are all from the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Please wait and see. The white-bearded old man introduced. As soon as these words were spoken, the insiders like Shopkeeper Hao, who were waiting to see a joke, revealed an, as expected, expression. The Hong Chamber of Commerce was truly at a dead end. Such an important auction actually only had 4 items to auction. One had to know that every Chamber of Commerce could only take out 10 items to auction. Even the Golden Chamber of Commerce had managed to gather 7 items. How could such a trashy Chamber of Commerce be a supplier to the Academy? They were simply a disgrace to the Morning Star Academy. Furthermore, the more items they took out, the higher the total transaction value. This Hong Chamber of Commerce was not even trying to make up for the numbers, and had given up. Chapter 48-28. This was the only time these people could be proud of themselves. They better not be shocked to the point that their jaws dropped. The Hong Merchant Association's first auction item is a set of 10 golden nascent gathering pills of supreme quality. The starting price is 1,500,000 spiritual jades. The white-bearded old man said excitedly. To be honest, even he was shocked when he saw the list for the first time. This was a rare supreme quality pill. Everyone in the audience instantly exploded. Although they were all gathering infant golden pills, high-quality ones were still commonly seen. However, top-quality ones were simply something that could only be discovered by luck. The rarity of these pills could even be compared to 7th-grade pills. Normally, it was extremely difficult to even hear of one, let alone see one. Shopkeeper Hao and shopkeeper Jean were so shocked that their jaws were dislocated. Their expressions were extremely colorful. They felt that they were already very impressive when they took out a set of superior golden nascent gathering pills, but in the end, they took out a set of supreme-grade golden nascent gathering pills. Wasn't this a slap in the face in front of everyone? Without a doubt, the wealthy families would be completely trampled by the Hong Merchant Association. If they were different from each other, no one would expect the wealthy families to have them even if the Hong Merchant Association took out the best. But now, they both had 10 golden nascent gathering pills. One was only of superior quality, while the other was of supreme quality. The difference between the two was obvious. 3 million. Booth number 4 once again gained the upper hand. Before this, he had only bid 3 times, but each time, it was the main item of each Chamber of Commerce. Without a doubt, they were all rare and expensive items. And this time, he once again emphasized to everyone the impression he had before, that to him, spirit jades were really just a number. 4 million. This time, the person who spoke was from room number 2. This was the first time he had made a bid, and everyone could not help but guess who was behind this. There were probably only a handful of people in Morning Star City who were qualified to be in room number 2. Although the golden nascent gathering pills were meaningless to these big shots, they were still useful to the younger generation of their sections. Especially the rare supreme quality golden nascent gathering pills. Even late nascent soul realm experts would benefit greatly if they used them. They could not be missed. 5 million. Booth number 4 refused to budge. As for the others, they could only look on and sigh again. At this price, even those large chambers of commerce would not dare to make a move, let alone these ordinary cultivators with limited wealth. This was destined to be a bidding game for the privileged. 5 million. Room number 2 spoke again, but this time, it was a middle-aged man's voice. Although he didn't do it on purpose, it gave off an oppressive feeling of power without being angry, causing people to instinctively not dare to resist. Lin Yi could not help but feel that this voice was somewhat familiar. Could it be one of the 3 Morning Star powerhouses, Wei Hebei? This was very possible. After all, this vice dean had many disciples, and he reckoned that there were also many genius disciples at the Golden Core stage. The supreme-grade golden nascent gathering pill just happened to be of great use to him. This time, booth number 4 didn't say anything. No one felt that he didn't have enough spirit jades on hand. Previously, he could use 5 million spirit jades to buy a grade 7 great recovery pill. This time, he definitely wouldn't be stingy with a mere 5 million spirit jades when faced with 10 supreme-grade golden nascent gathering pills. Thus, there was only one explanation. Just like how booth number 6 didn't dare to provoke him, he didn't dare to compete with booth number 2 either. Thus, he had no choice but to concede. In the end, the group of supreme-grade golden nascent gathering pills fell into booth number 2's pocket at the price of 5 million spirit jades. All the shopkeepers were instantly speechless. Just the first auction item had already reached 5 million spirit jades. It had already surpassed the grand auction's total transaction of 3 million spirit jades. What else could they do? In booth number 12, shopkeeper Hao and shopkeeper Jin's faces had already turned as black as the bottom of a pot. When they thought about how they had mocked and ridiculed honest Chai, they felt ashamed. They thought that he didn't know how to appreciate their kindness, but it turned out that he was treating them like idiots. Next up is the second auction item from the Hong Merchant Guild, a 7th grade great rejuvenating pill of high quality. The starting price is 8 million spirit jades. The white-bearded old man announced. The crowd was in an uproar again. This Hong Merchant Guild was doing this on purpose. They had just used a group of supreme-grade golden nascent gathering pills to slap the grand auction's face, and now, they immediately started to slap the all-access auction's face. One had to know that the all-access auction's 7th grade great rejuvenating pill didn't even mention the word quality. According to the unwritten rules of the auction, this meant that it was only of normal quality. It couldn't even be compared to a medium-quality pill, let alone the Hong Merchant Guild's high-quality 7th grade great rejuvenating pill. Lin Yi shook his head slightly. He originally wanted to try for the supreme grade, but unfortunately, at the level of a 7th grade great rejuvenating pill, even the divine armament cauldron couldn't guarantee the supreme grade. After refining a few times, there weren't many supreme grade pills. This showed how rare it was. Not only did it require the best ingredients, it also required good luck. Previously, a group of supreme-grade golden nascent condensation pills was already shocking enough. This time, a superior 7th grade great recover pill was released. Not only the people in the venue, but even the VIP boxes were in a commotion. It was also able to heal the injuries and chi of a profound ascending stage master, but the recovery speed between normal quality and high quality was too different. Normal quality needed a day, while high quality only needed an hour. Under normal circumstances, there wasn't much difference, but when it came to a critical moment, the difference between an hour and a day could very well be the difference between life and death. This was a real second life. Finally, after a fierce competition, this 7th grade great rejuvenating pill was sold for a sky-high price of 8 million spirit jades. It once again fell into the hands of the second box. With just 2 items, the Hong Merchant Guild's transaction had already reached a heaven-defying 3 million spirit jades, far surpassing all the other merchant guilds. Even the all-access auction couldn't catch up. From now on, there was no doubt that Morning Star Academy would be the sole supplier. With the first 2 items, the third item didn't need the host to say anything. It had already caught everyone's attention. After all, the previous items were already supreme-grade golden nascent gathering pill and high-quality 7th grade great rejuvenating pill. Even if the third item was hard to be better, it shouldn't be any worse, right? Chapter 48-29. Lin Yi was startled by the sudden screams. Honest Chai, on the other hand, was as steady as Mount Tai, as if he was prepared for this. He turned around and smiled. From the moment you took out the beauty pill, I knew this would happen. Women are creatures that cannot be explained with logic. As long as the beauty pill is placed in front of them, no matter their age or strength, not a single person would be able to resist. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh, speechless. He'd thought that only women like Yang Qinxue, whose face was ruined, would be so obsessed with the beauty elixir. He didn't think that all women were like this. No wonder Ning Xuefei couldn't let go of the beauty elixir when she first got it. It was like a woman's life. After the scream subsided, the white-bearded elder continued to announce, 1 high-grade beauty pill, starting price 3 million spiritual jades. It was also a high-grade 7th grade pill, but the starting price was a whole 1,200,000 spiritual jades higher than the Great Revitalizing Pill. It couldn't be helped, this was the classic case of rare things being expensive. In terms of practicality, the 7th grade Great Revitalizing Pill was much more useful than the beauty pill. Unfortunately, it couldn't make women go crazy like the beauty pill. Lin Yi finally understood, no matter where he went, it was still women's money that was the easiest to earn. As soon as the white-bearded old man's voice faded, bids were immediately called out one after another. At this time, spiritual jades were no longer spiritual jades, but just a simple number. Women were absolutely unreasonable at this time. In just a short period of time, the price had already reached an extremely exaggerated 9 million, far surpassing the transaction price of the 7th grade Great Revitalizing Pill just now. Lin Yi was tongue-tied. In his heart, he made up his mind that if he ever lacked spiritual jades in the future, he wouldn't need to do anything. He could just casually concoct a few beauty pills and he would be able to easily earn tens of millions of spiritual jades. Among them, other than VIP Box 1, all of the VIP boxes that were ranked at the top had made their bids. Even VIP Box 3, who had never spoken before, was no exception. However, VIP Box 3's voice was that of a woman, while the other VIP boxes were all male voices. Of course, since they were bidding for this beauty pill, it was definitely for women. Unless they were psychopaths, ordinary men would not use this kind of thing. Lin Yi paid special attention to room number 3. The voice that had just spoken was hollow, and it was obvious that it had used some kind of voice-changing technique. However, combined with the ranking of room 3, Lin Yi subconsciously associated it with the divine nun of the Eastern Sea. After all, as one of the 3 giants of the Morning Star Academy, if the divine nun of the Eastern Sea were to personally participate, it would not be strange for her to be allocated Box 3. However, Lin Yi could only guess. Before seeing the true face of the person inside, he could not come to a conclusion. However, upon closer thought, while the beauty pill could drive all women mad, surely the divine nun of the East Sea's cultivation and temperament could not be immune to it, right? However, Box 3 had only opened its mouth once, and did not make another bid. It was not as crazy as the others, and had only dabbled in it. Therefore, it was not impossible to say that the divine nun of the Eastern Sea was sitting inside. In the end, the high-grade beauty pill was sold at a price of 9.5 million spirit jades, falling into the hands of booth number 4. Such a sky-high price was unprecedented. Not to mention this auction, even if all the previous Morning Star auctions were to be added together, this would definitely be one of the best. When the dust finally settled, all the women present were heartbroken. To them, missing out on the opportunity to obtain the beauty pill was like losing their lover. They could only blame themselves for not having enough spirit jades on hand. Such an exaggerated figure of less than 10 million was not something that could be taken out by any ordinary organization. They needed to hug onto a sufficiently thick thigh. Next up is the Hong Merchant Association's 4th auction item, and also the last item of today's auction. 5 profound thunder pills of high quality. The white-bearded elder announced at the end. The crowd was in an uproar. This commotion was even more shocking than when the beauty pill had appeared. Earlier, it was just the women who had gone mad, but this time, it was simply everyone's hair standing on end. What kind of merchant association was this, to actually be able to take out high-grade profound thunder pills, and 5 of them in one go? One had to know that the profound thunder pill was the rarest 7th grade pill in any Golden Step Academy in the East Continent. After all the Golden Step Academy disciples had a common goal, and that was to break through to the profound ascension realm. Only after that could they advance to the profound sea region, and the profound thunder pill was a must for everyone to break through to the profound ascension realm. No matter how talented you were, you could not do without it. Everyone knew that any large chamber of commerce's high-grade pills, especially the 7th grade pills, most of them came from the alchemists of the various academies. Although each of them had some other ways, they were far from being comparable to the alchemists of these academies. This was because the existence of a 7th-grade alchemist could only appear in one place in the East Continent, and that was the various academies. Only those academies could truly afford to provide for these 7th-grade alchemists, and other places simply could not keep them. But this time, the Hong Merchant Association did not rely on the alchemists of the academies, and could obtain such a high-grade supply of pills by themselves. Each pill was more frightening than the last, and they could even take out 5 profound thunder pills in one go. This was simply heaven-defying. Seeing the explosive reaction from the crowd, even the usually mild-tempered Honest Chai became excited. If it wasn't for his image as the shopkeeper of a branch, he would have danced with joy in celebration. Your strategy was indeed correct. We don't need a lot of good things, for it is enough. Honest Chai looked at Lin Yi with a face full of admiration. According to his original plan, other than the pills that Lin Yi had refined at the last minute, he also wanted to add the items that he had prepared for the auction. However, it was rejected by a single sentence from Lin Yi. Although the items that they had prepared seemed rare, everyone could obtain them. Adding them would only lower their own status. Instead of using those useless items to lower our status, we might as well use these 4. This way, we can build up our reputation and leave a deep impression on others. Lin Yi smiled faintly. If the previous auction was considered intense, then this time, with the temptation of 5 high-grade profound thunder pills, the entire scene was as crazy as a war. Chapter 48-30. 5 million. Booth 4 immediately called out impatiently. He immediately increased the bid by 2 million, showing that he was determined to win. This was not strange at all. Just now, he was willing to pay 5 million spirit jades for the beauty pill, so naturally he would not be the slightest bit stingy with the Thunder Xian pill. 6 million. Booth 2 immediately called out. 7 million. Booth 4 did not give in this time. For the sake of a Thunder Xian pill, Booth 2 could only offend him for once. 8 million. This time, it was Booth 1 who called out. The originally passionate crowd immediately quieted down, and even Booth 2 and Booth 4 chose to remain silent. Outsiders might not dare to be sure, but the owner of Booth 1 was clear in his heart. This was without a doubt the number 1 person in Morning Star Academy. Since even he called out a bid, everyone had to take a step back. This was the least they could do out of respect. Finally, the first high-grade Thunder Xian pill fell into the hands of Booth 1. Although this price could not even be compared to the beauty pill, it could not be considered low. Everyone was actually somewhat apprehensive. This was only the first Thunder Xian pill. What if he also called out a bid for the next 4 Thunder Xian pills? Should they give in or not? They could not offend the number 1 person in Morning Star Academy just for a few Thunder Xian pills, right? But if they gave in, they would miss the opportunity to obtain the Thunder Xian pill. This was a high-grade Thunder Xian pill. Fortunately, Booth 1 had the demeanor of an expert. After calling out a bid once, he did not call out another bid, allowing everyone to simultaneously heave a sigh of relief. 8 million. When it came to the second profound thunder core, the 4th Booth once again gained the upper hand by a show of strength, raising the price to 8 million, immediately scaring a large number of people. Those who wanted to take advantage of the loopholes immediately lost their hopes. 10 million. Booth 2 did not hesitate to call out. The entire crowd was in an uproar. This had actually broken the previous record for the beauty pill. 11 million. Booth 4 continued to raise the price. 12 million. Booth number 2 coldly snorted. This time, Booth number 4 immediately lost the confidence to compete with him. At this price, even he couldn't afford it. After all, he had already spent 20 million spiritual jades. No matter how many spiritual jades he couldn't afford to spend it like this. Lin Yi looked at this scene and silently laughed. From the looks of it, the owner of the second room was most likely Wei Hebei. Out of the 3 heads of the Morning Star Academy, only he had a tyrannical and overbearing style. Furthermore, he had many disciples and wasn't lacking in spirit jades. Throwing out 12 million spirit jades was nothing to him. Immediately after the third Thunder Xian pill, Booth 3 was the first to call out a bid, 10 million spirit jades. Everyone's gazes subconsciously turned to VIP Room 2 and VIP Room 4. In the end, they discovered that neither of them had stepped forward to bid, and they were simultaneously maintaining their silence. At the level of 10 million spiritual jades, it would be difficult for the other VIP booths to compete with them. Even if they could gather so many spiritual jades, they would have to think it over carefully. Was it worth it to pay such a huge price to offend the third booth? For the fourth Thunder Profound Core, the first person to bid was still booth number 3, and the price was still 10 million spiritual jades. Room 1 didn't say anything, and Room 2 didn't say anything either. But this time, Room 4 couldn't bear it anymore. This was already the fourth one. If this continued, he wouldn't even be able to get any leftovers. He would definitely regret it to death. 11 million. Booth number 4 immediately called out. 12 million. Booth 3 refused to budge an inch. 15 million. This time, VIP Booth 4 was practically cutting off all means of retreat. They had spent so many spirit jades previously. 15 million spirit jades was already their limit. It would be difficult to spend another 100,000. In the end, the Profound Thunder Core finally fell into the hands of booth number 4. It seemed that even booth number 3 did not have enough spiritual jades to the point of casually using 15 million spiritual jades to bid for a Profound Thunder Core. The first 4 Profound Thunder Cores were all taken, and only the last one was left. It was still booth number 3 who called out, 12 million. It was obvious that booth number 3 was determined to win this Thunder Profound Core. Although everyone could see that 12 million was her limit, at this point, there were very few heavyweight buyers who could beat her. Booth number 4 was already out of ammunition, and booth number 1 and 2 were tacitly silent. As for the other buyers, it was not easy for them to come up with 12 million spiritual jades in such a short time. However, just when everyone thought the dust had settled, someone in the venue suddenly stood up and raised the price, 24 million. Everyone instantly went crazy, and their gazes instantly focused on this person. Even if he was in the first few VIP booths, he would at most increase the price by a few million at a time, but this person actually doubled the price in one go. This time, even Lin Yi was shocked. He looked up and down at this person. He thought that all the top characters were in the VIP booths, but he did not expect that there would be such a hidden nouveau riche in this square. Who is this person? Lin Yi asked curiously. Central Chamber of Commerce's Morning Star branch's shopkeeper, Zhao Donglai. Honest Chai introduced. Central Chamber of Commerce? No wonder. Lin Yi suddenly understood. Speaking of nouveau riche, the Central Chamber of Commerce was definitely a rich and imposing nouveau riche. They could casually make a few low-end technological products from the secular world and earn a lot of spiritual jades. What business could be more profitable than this in the world? 24 million spirit jades, this was simply an astronomical figure among astronomical figures, and everyone could only shut their mouths. The last Thunder Profound Core had undoubtedly fallen into the hands of Zhao Donglai. This was truly a rich and overbearing nouveau riche. Please do as you please, ah. Hee, 24 million spiritual jades, this Zhao Donglai is really bold. Honest Chai's eyes lit up. But it's also fortunate that this is the Morning Star auction. If it was any other auction, even if he has a lot of spiritual jades, I don't think he would dare to bid in public. Why? Lin Yi asked. If he dares to be in the limelight at other places, wouldn't that be asking for trouble? But here, everything is managed by the Academy, so there's no need to be afraid of offending anyone. Moreover, the first few VIP booths are all big shots of the Academy. Even if they want to lose face, they wouldn't go looking for trouble with him, unless they're shameless. Honest Chai analyzed. Indeed, this was the logic. Everyone understood the logic of not showing off one's wealth. It was not worth it to make enemies because of this. Zhao Donglai dared to bid because he had the Central Chamber of Commerce behind him, so he was not afraid of anyone. Of course, he would bid if he wanted to. Chapter 48-31. The Hong Chamber of Commerce, which was the finale, had a total turnover of 98 million. When this result was announced, everyone present was stunned. One had to know that a first-rate branch of a top-notch chamber of commerce wouldn't even be able to reach this figure in an entire year. Yet, this person had achieved it through a simple auction. This result was simply enviable. Even those big shots breathing had become noticeably heavier when they heard this figure. The crowd did not disperse, because Ling Yuanqing once again appeared on the stage and announced in a clear voice, "As the Dean of the Morning Star Academy, I announce that from today onwards, the only supplier of the Academy will be the Hong Merchant Guild." As soon as he finished, Honest Chai jumped up in excitement. This time, he really came back from the dead. In the end, it was all thanks to Lin Yi's timely arrival. However, it was not only him and the Morning Star Academy that benefited. This time, Lin Yi also earned a huge sum of money. Because all the pills were provided by him, after deducting the necessary materials and the auction fees, he had earned at least 80 million spiritual jades. However, Lin Yi only smiled and did not show any excitement. After all, he did not lack spiritual jades. No matter how many spiritual jades there were, it was just a number to him. Everyone gathered around to congratulate him. Nobody knew Lin Yi, but they all knew Honest Chai. The Hong Merchant Association had made such a big splash today. Everyone knew that he would be the #1 merchant association in the future. As the branch manager, Honest Chai's status would naturally rise. They had to curry favor with him now. Just as Honest Chai was happily dealing with the crowd, a person jumped out from booth 13 and landed in front of Honest Chai. He pointed at Honest Chai's nose and shouted, "This is impossible. The Hong Merchant Association is obviously up to something." "Manager Wan, what do you mean by that?" Honest Chai looked at the person in front of him and his expression turned cold. This person was the branch manager of the All Access Gathering, Wan Zhongjie. Seeing the two of them going head-to-head against each other, the entire audience quietened down. Everyone looked like they were watching a good show. If Wan Zhongjie could produce any evidence, then Ling Yuanqing would probably withdraw his order. It seemed like it was still uncertain who would be the sole supplier for Morning Star Academy. "Humph. Shopkeeper Chai, you know what I mean." Wan Zhongjie sneered. He suddenly jumped out purely because he was unwilling to accept it. He had put in so much effort to get a 7th-grade great revitalizing pill, and he had finally managed to suppress the aristocratic families. Victory was in sight, but who would have thought that he would be slapped in the face like a clown in front of everyone? How could he tolerate this? "Shopkeeper Wan, if you have anything to say, you better say it face to face. Do you really think that my Hong Merchant Association is easy to bully?" Honest Chai, an honest man, was enraged. "Everyone knows that your Hong Chamber of Commerce is in a mess now. I suspect that these elixirs were purchased at a high price from somewhere else at the last minute in your last struggle. I dare to confirm that these medicinal pills of yours absolutely did not come from a single supplier. It must have been pieced together." Wan Zhongjie insisted firmly. So what? Everyone at the side was confused. Even if the elixir didn't come from the same supplier, did it matter? So what? Humph, this kind of merchant association only knows how to buy elixirs at a high price at the last minute to put on a show. In fact, they have no long-term value to speak of. Letting this kind of merchant association be the sole supplier of Morning Star Academy, isn't this harming the Academy's disciples? Wan Zhongjie sneered. Shopkeeper Wan is right. If you want to be the sole supplier of Morning Star Academy, then you have to convince everyone. What's the point of putting together a temporary product? At this moment, someone in the crowd responded. Everyone turned to look and saw that it was shopkeeper Jean of the Golden Chamber of Commerce. That's right, shopkeeper Chai, hurry up and explain. For example, the set of golden gathering nascent pills that my aristocratic families would bring out was specially refined by the same alchemist. It is our exclusive supplier, so naturally, we can guarantee a stable supply. Otherwise, if we could only put together a few pills at the last minute, how would we be able to support the needs of so many disciples? Shopkeeper Hao didn't miss the opportunity to speak up. Although these merchant associations were all competitors, and shopkeeper Hao was just cursing Wan Zhongjie in his heart, in front of a powerful enemy like the Hong Chamber of Commerce, this could only be considered as an internal conflict. Right now, they needed to unite against the outside world and kick the Hong Chamber of Commerce while they were down. With Wan Zhongjie and the others taking the lead, the other shopkeepers of the other small merchant associations also jumped out and clamored for Chai to honestly reveal the source of the elixirs. Otherwise, the result of today's auction wouldn't count. That's impossible. The source of the elixirs is the absolute core secret of any merchant association. If it was you guys, would you so easily reveal the source of your elixirs? Shopkeeper Hao, why don't you set an example? Honest Chai retorted sarcastically. This. Shopkeeper Hao didn't dare to reply. If he revealed it in front of everyone, what would he do if someone tried to poach him? The aristocratic associations don't need to bear the responsibility of supplying the entire Morning Star Academy. Of course, there's no need to reveal the source of the elixirs. However, your Hong Chamber of Commerce is related to the future of the Academy's disciples. Shouldn't you give everyone a satisfactory explanation? Wan Zhongjie sneered as he changed the topic. The crowd instantly became agitated, and the commotion became more and more intense. The situation was getting more and more out of control. Honest Chai's heart was burning with anxiety. He originally thought that it would be a happy ending, but who would have thought that the situation would suddenly change to such a state? The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. The old saying was indeed true. Silence. At this moment, Ling Yuanqing finally spoke. Everyone instantly quietened down. This principal of the Morning Star Academy was publicly recognized as the #1 person in the academy. Once he spoke, no one dared to say anything else. Principal Ling, please uphold justice. Honest Chai was instantly elated. As long as Ling Yuanqing was willing to speak, Wan Zhongjie and the others' opinions would all be in vain. Now, he could sleep peacefully. Principal Ling, this matter is related to the future of the Academy's disciples. No matter how cautious we are, you cannot be soft-hearted and side with the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Wan Zhongjie and the others hurriedly said. Ling Yuanqing slowly swept his gaze across the crowd and said indifferently, letting the Hong Chamber of Commerce announce the source of the elixirs is not realistic nor reasonable. However, since everyone has doubts in their hearts, in order to clear the Hong Chamber of Commerce's name, why don't you let someone examine these elixirs? I believe they will be able to come up with a convincing conclusion. What does shopkeeper Chai think? Chapter 48-32. In fact, he was already relieved that Ling Yuanqing was willing to say this. After all, he couldn't possibly say that these pills were refined by Lin Yi. If he did that, it might cause trouble for Lin Yi, and he couldn't bear the consequences. Since you don't trust the alchemists of the commerce, let me do it. A strange-looking middle-aged man suddenly spoke, and the crowd immediately opened up a path for him. This person had green hair and a green beard, and was the head 7th-grade alchemist of the Morning Star Academy, Qing Danzi. Grandmaster Qing Danzi? Honest Chai was startled. Although he had a bad premonition in his heart, since the other party was the head alchemist of the Morning Star Academy, he naturally had the right to speak on this matter. He could only nod and say, since you're here to personally test the pills, I naturally have no problems. Good, then take out the pills first. Qing Danzi immediately ordered. Because the auction had just ended, the pills had not yet been handed over to the buyers. Very quickly, the workers gathered all the pills together and brought them out. Looking at this neat and tidy plate of pills, everyone couldn't help but swallow their saliva. No matter how these pills came to be, it didn't change the fact that each and every one of them was a rare pill. Any one of them alone was enough to make people drool. But now, there was a whole plate of pills here, with a total value of more than 90 million spirit jades. It was only because of the presence of a super expert like Ling Yuanqing. Otherwise, with the temptation of 90 million spirit jades, it was hard to say what these people would do. It might even turn into a bloodbath. As long as it's a high-grade pill, especially a 6th or 7th grade pill, the alchemist will mark it with a unique divine sense mark. This is to prove that the pill was refined by the alchemist himself. Therefore, if there's no accident, all the pills here will have a divine sense mark. We just need to check if these divine sense marks were made by the same alchemist. Qing Danzi said as he swept his gaze across the crowd. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement. Even Honest Chai nodded his head in agreement. This way, things would be much simpler. After all, any expert would be able to do it and not necessarily a pill refiner. This way, they wouldn't have to worry about the other party being biased towards shopkeeper Hao and the others. After all, as the chief alchemist of the academy, Master Qing Danzi, there were rumors in the streets that he had already chosen to collaborate with the aristocratic union. In particular, the Morning Star auction ceremony had been held because of his stance, so it was obvious which side he was on. After that, Qing Danzi immediately began to check the spiritual sense marks one by one. However, after he had checked all the pills, he suddenly froze and could not speak. "How is it?" Manager Hao and the others asked impatiently. They were waiting for Qing Danzi to give the verdict to the Hong Chamber of Commerce and invalidate the results of the auction. Qing Danzi frowned, not speaking for a long time. Beside him, Ling Yuanqing glanced at him and personally used his divine sense to examine the pills. Then, he also revealed an expression of surprise. "These pills don't have any divine sense marks on them. Not even one." Everyone was in an uproar, each and every one of them had a look of disbelief on their faces. How could there be no divine sense mark on such a high-grade pill? However, since even Ling Yuanqing said so, it meant that there really wasn't any. According to Master Qing Danzi, since high-grade pills all have their own unique marks, then the lack of divine sense marks on these pills should be considered a special mark. This should be enough to prove that they were made by the same person, right? Honest Chai sneered. Wan Zhongjia, Manager Hao, and the others were instantly dumbfounded. They looked at each other and did not know what to say. They could only look at Qing Danzi. The suggestion to inspect the pills was not just a whim. With their many years of experience as a shopkeeper, they truly believed that these pills were put together by Honest Chai at the last minute. If not, if he really had such an amazing supply of pills, the Hong Merchant Guild would not have fallen to such a state where they were being attacked by everyone. No. At this moment, Qing Danzi's expression suddenly turned cold. He said with uncertainty, "Every single pill here is the masterpiece of an alchemist. Even if one or two don't have a divine sense mark on them, it is impossible for all of them to not have any. This is the best opportunity to stabilize the position of an alchemist. I guarantee that no alchemist will give up on this opportunity easily. To be an alchemist, one couldn't just practice hard behind closed doors alone. To put it bluntly, this was a profession that consumed a lot of spiritual jades. Almost every step of progress required a large amount of alchemy materials. Especially at the 7th level, it was an astronomical figure that was hard to estimate. It was even more exaggerated than 90 million spiritual jades. It was precisely because of this that it was impossible for a 7th-grade alchemist to exist independently. Only a powerful force like the East Continent Academy could afford to support one. In order to pursue higher treatment, all alchemists would try their best to raise their status and reputation. Only then would they have the opportunity to advance further. Qing Danzi had done this himself, and all the high-level alchemists he had seen before had done the same without exception. Supreme Grade Golden Condensing Soul Pill, superior grade grand revitalizing pill, superior grade beautifying pill, superior grade profound thunder pill. Every single one of these pills is a supreme pill that is hard to come by even for a 7th grade alchemist. As long as you put a mark on these pills, you will undoubtedly become the chief alchemist of any golden grade academy. Who do you think would willingly give up on this opportunity? Qing Danzi glanced at Honest Chai. Facing Qing Danzi's invisible pressure, Honest Chai subconsciously took 2 steps back. The others nodded in agreement. No alchemist would not want to become the chief alchemist. Qing Danzi's words were very reasonable. But, these pills truly don't have any divine sense marks on them. How do you explain this? Honest Chai braced himself and asked. It's very simple. These pills originally had divine sense marks on them, but they were purposely erased by someone. As for why they did this, I don't think I need to explain further. Qing Danzi's tone was unpredictable. Grandmaster Qing Danzi is right. Honest Chai, you look so honest on the outside, but who would have thought that you would be so cunning in the dark? In order to obtain the qualifications to become a supplier, you would even use such a despicable method. Too sinister. Wan Zhongjia, shopkeeper Hao, and the others immediately added insult to injury. You all. Honest Chai opened his mouth in grief and indignation, but not a single word came out. This Qing Danzi was obviously siding with the other merchant groups, but his words were impeccable. Even if he were to argue with him, it was obvious who the crowd would believe. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.